The Emmy Award-winning NASCAR on Fox as we get you ready for the start of the Dodge Charger 500. Let's join Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, and Mike Joy to call the race. Mike, I know this is one of your favorite places to race.
Well, it is, Chris. A lot of it's the sense of history, but a lot of it, too, is looking what Chris Browning and his folks have done with this place. 74,000 people here tonight, a sellout crowd reinvigorating this old super speedway and making it new again. And in that infield, this is still the heart of the Deep South. The stars and bars outnumber even the Dale Jr. flags as we get ready to race on this historic paved super speedway with Larry McReynolds and Darrell Waltrip. Larry, I guess winning here is something that's so special to everybody in this garage area.
Well, it is. I mean, every team, they want to win the Daytona 500. They want to win in Indianapolis. You want to win a championship. Because of the history of this place and the challenge of this place, I think every team wants to win here. And I've got to say, even though I'm very proud of the things I accomplished in my 26 years in the sport, there's a little empty hole because I never made it to victory lane in Darlington. Because when you win here, you don't beat the competitors. You have beat this racetrack. It's like beating the Packers at Lambeau Field or the Yankees at Yankee Stadium when you win at this place.
Darrell, that's kind of what we saw last night. This is the one place where winning is truly all in the driver's hands. It's managing your resources. It's achieving a comfort level, not letting the racetrack beat you.
Yeah, well, you know, when we say you got to race the racetrack, yeah, that is a big part of it. But the other part of it, too, is beating the competition. Because, again, like Larry said, everybody wants to win here. This is a really important race on the schedule, and since we only come here once now, you only got one shot this year instead of two. So I'm like Larry. I want to be in victory circle when this thing is over with because I know as a driver I did my job and I did it well.
Budweiser, official beer of NASCAR, proud sponsor of the Budweiser Pole Award, is given to the fastest qualifier at each Nextel Cup race. Budweiser congratulates Casey Kane, fastest qualifier tonight, and the latest Budweiser Shootout eligible driver. We're ready to race at Darlington. Let's go trackside to Matt Yocum.
Mike, it could be a huge night for our two front row starters. When you look at Ryan Newman and Casey Kane, both have had a lot of success starting from the front row. They've combined to win 8 times, and both need something good to happen and happen fast. You look at Kane, he's lost 196 points over the past 2 races. Ryan Newman hasn't won since the first race in the chase last fall at New Hampshire. But when you look at the old school aspect of the sport, and both Kane and Newman love the old school of Darlington, the track too tough to tame. So much history from this place, but if you park your car, if you're lucky enough to do it at Days End in Victory Lane, yes, you get a great check mark on your racing resume, but you also get the honor of a front row parking spot here on Darlington's Winners Alley. Guys like Ned Jarrett, Cale Yarborough, and yes, 5-time Darlington winner, Darrell Waltrip. They all park here front row on the front stretch. It's an honor that most would love to have, few ever get to see. Mike?
Thanks, Matt. Let's have you look at the starting lineup. 2 Dodges on the front row for tonight's Dodge Charger 500. Here's your starting lineup as we go trackside for the command.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the mothers of the NASCAR Nextel Series drivers as they give those most famous words in motorsports.
Start your engine!
How about that?
That's cool.
Well, let's go trackside down on pit road to Manchester, Connecticut's favorite son, Dick Bergman.
Well, Darlington is the most abrasive racetrack in NASCAR. And as the cars run on this abrasive track, it just eats the tires. And as the tires get eaten away, the cars slow down and the drivers are screaming for fresh rubber. Lots of pit stops tonight. Crews set up with 15 sets of tires in their pits. And every time the drivers get an opportunity, they're going to come down pit road. That puts extra pressure on the pit crews. The crews that can be consistently fast, no mistakes, will help their driver toward victory lane. In fact, last night, Denny Hamlin was helped enormously by his crew in winning the Busch Series race. Let's go to Steve Burns.
Well, Dick, 25-year-old Denny Hamlin combined great pit work with patience far beyond his years to win his second career Busch Series race here last night. A race loaded with veteran stars like Mark Martin, Greg Biffle, and Kevin Harvick. His mom, you just saw there, Mary Lou, got an early Mother's Day gift, and Coach Joe Gibbs continues to reap dividends. Gibbs gains an unknown Hamlin his Busch Series debut here in 2004. Hamlin parlayed a top 10 finish into a contract. Now, I asked Denny Hamlin before the race how he was going to celebrate Mother's Day tomorrow. He said, Steve, we pretty much did it last night, and I think we can do it again tonight. Hamlin will start 5th. His father, Big Denny, a small business owner, has also sacrificed in a big way to get Denny to this point. He said this family had taken out a second mortgage on several occasions to give Denny the right equipment to further his racing career, and it too has paid off big.
Thanks, Steve. For 57 years, they've been running Nextel Cup type races here in Darlington County, and hopefully for another 57 more. History. This is the place you learn about NASCAR history. Fall 1956, 60,000 people crowded into this egg-shaped oval to see a great race. NASCAR called the cars strictly stock, and as you can see, they were. Times have changed. The only strictly stock car out there right now is that yellow one leading the field. But the excitement level and the intensity of the crowd, just as big as it was back then.
You know, guys, if there was a race that made sense to put on Saturday night under the lights, it would be the one here at Darlington, South Carolina. I mean, it is an awesome sight.
It's like when the lights come on, it's like you turn the contrast way up on your TV. Everything just is really bright and everything just glows. It's different than it is doing in the daytime, I can tell you that.
This track is unique in shape and in the way you drive it, as Darrell Waltrip and Jeff Hammond found out when they took our Richard Petty driving experience car for a spin.
What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about this racetrack. One of the things that we talk about all the time is the crossover move. The crossover move is, I've got a car on my inside right now. This is a very narrow racetrack. There's not a lot of room. There's room for one car to get in this corner. So if I try to go in on the outside and just get underneath of me here, he's going to put me in the fence, probably wreck both of us. What you want him to do is think that you're going to race him in here, and you race him down here as far as you can go, and then let him go. His momentum carries him up the racetrack, and you cut to the bottom. And DW, oh, by the way, the king said no Darlington stripes on the Petty experience car. And here you're carrying so much speed, and the track is so narrow that you just go all the way to the top. This is where you get to Darlington stripe. You can see them all on the wall already. And this is where you rub the wall. Wham, wham, bam, 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 bam. If stripes are okay, dents are not. Down into 3 you go. Up against the wall you go. Oh, hang on, Jeff, hang on. Oh, almost hit it, buddy. Down into 3, up the hill. Hang her up to the top. Yahoo! Come on, Jeff, help me, help me, help me.
That's how you get around Darlington and the Darlington stripe. We'll show you lots of examples of that. Hallowed ground in Darlington County is right there inside turn 4, Victory Lane. David Pearson's been there 10 times. Dale Earnhardt 9. Cale Yarborough, Bobby Allison, and Darrell 5 apiece. 4 wins for Harry Gant. Richard Petty, Herb Thomas, Buck Baker 3 times. 8 drivers with 2 wins and 16 with 1. Quite a place. Larry, how about our FedEx racetracks tonight?
367 laps, 500 miles, pit road speed 45 miles per hour, the pit window for fuel 65 to 70 laps. The driver will be screaming, I want tires, about lap 20 at this place. The FedEx racetrack keys, race the racetrack. What that means is you race the elements here for 450 miles, then see who's left for those final 50 miles and go at it at the end. Don't overextend your equipment. This place will get you in more trouble trying to get more than what your car has in it than any racetrack we go to. Give and take. Don't take what isn't there. And if you trust me, if you want to take more than you'll give, you'll have a big DNF by your finish at the end of the night.
Might add a key word in there too, anticipation.
Absolutely.
Always anticipate what's going to happen ahead of you.
For more information, including DW's hotspots, log on to foxsports.com. Keyword FedEx.
No, by the way, Mike, everybody look at these walls right now. They're nice and white.
They
this
are.
race is over with.
Well, they painted them
They
today.
painted them
No,
today.
they all night long in part of the day
So
from last
when this
night.
race over with, you'll say, I thought those walls were white when the race started.
I mean, before even the Busch cars left here last night, they had the spotlights and the painters out there painting these walls.
The very first race here, Labor Day, 1950. Johnny Mance driving a completely stock Plymouth, won at an average speed of 75 miles an hour. He started 43rd in a 75-car field and won $10,000, which was big money in 1950. Mance's key, he had 6 or 8-ply truck tires on his car that didn't blow out as often as the passenger car tires used by most of the rest of the field.
Smart. There you see our weather. The air temperature right now 76 degrees, the track 81 degrees, and you saw the piece of asphalt that Jeff Hammond had in the pre-race. This surface is like a piece of 20 grit sandpaper. It just eats the tires away. So when the track cools down, it's just going to give the tires more grip on into the evening.
Casey Kane trying to do what's only been done here 8 times before and win from the pole. David Pearson did it 3 times, Freddie Lorenzen twice, Richard Petty, Bill Elliott, and Dale Jarrett, plus Dale Earnhardt, one year when time trials were rained out, started first and won.
Larry, you just kind of, a light went off when you said that. They're going to go faster after the sun goes down. I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Probably not.
Because faster is not better here.
No, I mean, when they designed this racetrack 50-something years ago, I think they were thinking more, maybe 90, 100, 110 miles per hour. Last night in qualifying, Casey Kane almost 170 miles per hour average, almost defies the law of physics.
What about having 3 rookies starting in the top 5? Clint Boyer is 3rd. David Stremme qualified 4th. Denny Hamlin 5th.
Oh, they'll respect this place a whole lot more when the night's over with. They won't be so brave when they come back next time.
And if you believe in numbers, 102 previous races here, only 13 races have been won from a starting position outside the top 10. We only have 1 previous winner in the top 10, the man that won here a year ago, Greg Biffle.
2 cars to the rear, Sterling Marlin and the 44 of Terry Labonte making his final Darlington start in his long and storied career. They both changed engines.
And what you have to remember and know, both of those engines are Hendrick engines. And I talked to some of the guys from the Hendrick camp. Both of them had very similar problems, so there was a little bit of concern knowing that there's another 4, 5, 6 Hendrick engines in this field. In fact, Sterling Marlin did not even get any final practice. It happened the minute the track opened for final practice.
Well, that means he's got a really good attitude then, because he didn't get out there and aggravate. He's not aggravated.
The 48th Spring Nextel Cup race at Darlington is set to get underway.
Well, DW, it's Saturday night. We're in Darlington County. Let's get this Saturday night party started. Reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time.
And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Casey heard me.
Sadler to the bottom. Grabs a spot. Moves up to 4th.
Pretty clean through 1 and 2 that time.
You know, used to here we'd wait a while before we got up against the wall like these guys are now. Now you go straight to the top. That's where all the grip is, what little there is.
Now what's going to be interesting, and I want to watch Jeff Gordon in the 24 cars, we'll watch Casey Kane in the 9. Jeff Hammond was telling me before the race, remember Larry, the top 10 qualifiers, they had to start on their qualifying tires. And trust me, even 1 lap on your tires can make a difference here at this place. Jeff Gordon qualified 12th. He was able to start the race on brand new fresh tires. I'd rather qualify 11th or 12th than 7th or 8th or 9th right in there.
And he's just smart enough guy to know that and do that.
You want to know how bad this place is? Darrell, you talked about the sand in the pre-race pit and the windshield. We're at lap 2. The teams have already been given the extra man to clean the windshield.
Well, that's because all those guys are already complaining. I can't see anything. The sun, that's the big factor right now until it sets off of turn 2. It's going to cause these guys a lot of headaches.
It'll be fine in an hour or so, but down the backstretch, you're driving smack into the sun.
Watch out of Denny's car here. Can't see a thing. Look at that. All the way up on the straightaway, halfway down the straightaway, all the way to turn 3, and you can see.
And Darrell, of all
He
places,
can't.
turn 2. It's the most treacherous place on this racetrack. The whole racetrack's treacherous, but especially turn 2.
It's really bumpy over there. They put some patches in there last year. It was pretty nice, but this year they've settled a little bit, and it's real bumpy.
Jeff Gordon just moved into the top 10 as we watch Sadler, and now here is Kevin Harvick, who has just been passed by Bobby Labonte. And there's the crossover move by Harvick.
The guy on the outside, you got to give. You can't let that guy force you all the way up because it's so dirty up there. Here comes Tony Stewart. He'll do a slide job on Bobby. Now slides up the hill.
I'll be anxious to see how this 20 car is, because of all the drivers we interviewed in happy hour final practice last night, Tony Stewart was probably the unhappiest with his race car. Said it would not turn in a 10-acre field.
Brian Vickers moves underneath Sadler.
Boy, Sadler just looked like, of course, he had no choice. He had to give, but he looks really slow right now.
That car's backing up. Kurt Busch flashes past.
I think there might be something wrong with that 38 car, or else he's just trying to find a hole to get into. Not a bad thing. Don't let anybody get up on your back bumper right now. You don't need that.
Now, Sadler's lost 4 positions in a lap and a half.
This is one of those places when the car starts to hound you, really riding your back bumper, you got to let him go because he'll run over you if you don't.
Mike, you talked about rookies that qualified up front, and how about David Stremme here? He didn't qualified 5th. He doesn't even have a top 20 finish this year. Here he is driven by a couple of cars, sitting there running in 4th now in this 40 car. What a confidence builder for this young man.
Well, a tough racetrack. He needs to turn things around. The other 3 rookies are getting all the glory. I look for this kid to step it up. 3 wide going into turn 1. Look at that.
Well, it settles out as Jamie McMurray makes a bold move in the 26.
McMurray was all down on the apron and he slid up in front of those guys.
Tell you what, look at Mark Martin there off turn 2. He had his hands filled. We talk about give and take, our FedEx racetrack keys. If there's a man that knows how to give and take, Mark Martin in that 6 car. It's his type of a race.
And that's when the other drivers that come on the radio and say, what is he thinking anyway? We haven't run but 20 laps. Let me run 10 laps.
Harvick moves into the top 10 and pulls Stewart along for the ride. We were talking about rookies and Stremme in particular. Dick Berggren has more.
Car. That's really not one of Stremme's cars. He borrowed it from one of his teammates, Reed Sorensen. That should be a number 41 car. They've also gone to the same setup that the other people are using in his team. They had strayed off that setup and were trying some things on their own. And obviously what they're doing is working well. Steve.
Well, Dick, we've seen drivers already early in this race let other drivers go by as you're on board with Denny Hamlin. Hamlin told me last night the biggest lesson he learned was to let another driver pass him. He said they are much better on the long runs. He said, I hate it when other drivers go past me, but I did learn that last night. We're going to be good the longer this race goes, Matt Yoakum.
38 car of Elliott Sadler lost the 11th spot to Tony Stewart in the 20. Elliott says the car just way too free early on his entry, so he's doing what DW said earlier in the show. Just sit back and pace yourself, show patience, and that's what Tony Stewart in the 20 said about 3 laps ago. Guys, I'm just being patient. They said, you know what, we really appreciate it, especially this early on.
Well, I know one thing, you talk about Tony Stewart in the 20 car, for a car that was not turning last night, that car is flying through the middle of the corner where the car really has to turn.
11 laps complete. Casey Kane has led them all in Darlington.
The Dodge Charger 500 on Fox is sponsored by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. By KFC's family-sized mashed potatoes. There's more to go around at KFC. By State Farm. Great service and great rates. You can get it all from State Farm. And by Sprint, proud partner of the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series.
Still under green at 16 laps. Casey Kane continues to lead. He's led every single lap so far. And we talked earlier and in pre-race about the speed drop-off as the tires wear. And you see Kane's laps 7 miles an hour slower than when he started the race.
Yeah, 17 laps. It's basically 2 seconds on the stopwatch. You know, if these guys go about 7 or 8 laps and the caution comes out, they're pretty much going pit road for 4 tires.
We've talked about rookies. How about this fella, Clint Boyer, running a strong second place through this race, 1.2 seconds off the lead.
Every night it's one of them, or every race it's one of them. You know, last week's Hamlin, last night the Busch race is Hamlin, tonight it's Boyer. Every night one of these talented young men in good equipment is up there racing for the lead.
Ryan Newman, it's been a while since he's been to victory lane. More than 1 out of every 3 Darlington races have been won from the front row. Those odds stand in Newman's favor.
You know, we always like to talk about comers and goers, and a lot of times when he qualifies poorly, he's always pretty much a comer. Matt Kenseth in the 17 car didn't get that good of a qualifying run in, qualified 31st. He's already picked up 10 positions in 19 laps. Right now, he's about a half a lap behind our leader, Casey Kane, but he was so good in that Busch race, a lot like his teammate Mark Martin. It's his type of a race, patience.
500 miles here, nice patient driver, stay out of trouble, run by yourself like he is right now. That usually pays off.
Dick?
Well, Kenseth finished second last night and certainly learned and saw some patience there. I should also remind you that when he won in California earlier this year, Kenseth started in 31st position. Exactly the same spot he's in tonight. And both Kenseth and his crew are very aware of that number.
Thanks, Dick. How about his Roush Racing teammate Greg Biffle? Biffle just climbed into 5th place, passing David Stremme, and they've been busy on the two-way radio.
Nice job, bud. Take care of your stuff. How's your car?
Not bad.
All right, just take care of your stuff here.
And as he exits off turn 2, now Biffle was saying the car tight on the exit of turn 2 and turn 4, but he's coming off a great run at Richmond where he felt like it was a win the way his season has gone, just trying to rebound and battle back. He won here a year ago. They really feel like the car was too loose in qualifying. It's going to be great here as the sun continues to set.
Now, Darrell, as Matt pointed out a while ago, you won here 5 times. Yeah, you don't want a car knocking the fence down with the front end, but you cannot be loose at this racetrack. It'll get you in trouble quicker than anything about this track.
Yeah, you can, when you got a tight car, you can use the gas pedal. You can get in the gas, get out of the gas, and make it turn. When it's loose, you never know what's going to happen next. Saw Bobby Labonte try to cut to the bottom right there. That just snaps loose on you. There's not a lot of grip, and when you turn the wheel hard like he did there, sometimes the back end will just step right out.
That fight with Brian Vickers is for 14th place.
See it step out again there, Bobby. A little bit snappy loose off the corner.
Now what about Carl Edwards? Edwards was up there and contending, and he's fallen back 24 seconds behind the leader in 36th place. Steve?
Yeah, Mike, Carl Edwards in the 99 is a goer right now. As you said, started 7th. He's dropped all the way to 36th, dropping like a rock. Before the race even started, he expressed some concern of crew chief Wally Brown about the gear ratio they had chosen. And since then, he has said this car is so tight, it is undrivable.
I was going to say, Steve, just watching this car, the gear is the least of their problems right now. That car is all over the place. He certainly needs a caution right now.
Tony Stewart is flying through the field. You saw he just passed David Stremme, and Kurt Busch has been trying to follow Stewart up through. Tony's up to 6th.
You know what I like about Tony Stewart and Greg Zipadelli? He hated that car yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't like the car's junk. But his crew chief overnight, they got that old Magic Wand out, waved it over that thing, did a little bibbity-bobbity-boo. She's on the move today.
And how many times have we seen that with that crew?
That's the good thing about that team. You know, they're not happy in practice, but they got ways of fixing it. They got teammates, for one thing, that are running pretty darn good. Denny is, and that's a lot of good information.
Time for our first singular virtual crew chief question. Can a driver more than 400 points away from the lead still make it into the chase for the Nextel Cup? Right now, at this moment, 13 drivers are within 400 points. To answer, text the word crew to 191 on your singular phone or log on to foxsports.com/singular. We're under caution for a crash by Brian Vickers in the back straightaway. Vickers surveying the damage. He is okay. Let's see what happens coming off turn 2. Ooh. Now, Bobby Labonte was the car right behind him. We'll show you other views in a moment. But pit road is open, and it's a busy place. Steve?
Mike, Denny Hamlin saying his car is loose in and loose in the center, but all things considered, this race car is really good. They're going to make a track bar adjustment down and make an air pressure adjustment in the right front tire, Dick.
Clint Boyer started in third. His best qualifying effort of the entire year, has been running in second the majority of this event. To Matt.
Pole sitter Casey Kane, 5th and 3rd in his last 2 Darlington starts. Says the car way too loose. Significant chassis and air pressure adjustments for the 9. Meanwhile, the 12, Ryan Newman, he wants just a small tweak, a small adjustment as Kane will win the battle off pit road. Newman's team also made an air pressure adjustment and a piece of tape on the grill.
Thanks, Matt. Let's have another look here and see if there was contact between Bobby Labonte in the 43 and Brian Vickers.
They're certainly close enough. Let's see what happens here. It just appears that that 25 car just gets snappy loose. I mean, he drives out behind his teammate, and when he does, the thing just jumps loose with him.
And remember, he's driving straight into the sun as well.
Yeah, this is in the back straightaway. Look at the glare on Junior's windshield.
Here comes the sun.
Go high, go high. There you go.
So no contact, but a spin by Vickers and a hit into the wall. Puts us under the first caution of the night. And there's a happy bunch, the Ray Evernham crew.
They won the battle off pit road, came in leading, they left leading. We've got 42 cars that were still on the racetrack. All 42 cars were on pit road.
I've seen that celebration a couple of times already this year.
And they've got that #1 pit spot by qualifying on the pole.
They got it. They got it going on.
Our crack statisticians have amassed the list of Darlington stripes so far tonight. 9.
I don't know if that stripe's going to be long enough there to contain all the numbers by the time the night's over. It's probably going to be triple digits.
This was more than a stripe here.
Just remember, these are retaining walls. If it wasn't for that, they'd be out of here.
Oh, yeah.
Here's our Wendy's race menu. We go to Charlotte in 2 weeks.
Oh, boy.
The CarQuest Auto Parts 300 on FX, on May 27th, 7:30 Eastern Time, and Sunday, May 28th. Don't miss Nextel Cup Racing with the Coca-Cola 600 at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That is in 2 weeks. And those are the next point races on Fox. Of course, next weekend we'll be in Charlotte for the All-Star break.
Everything under the lights again.
Riding with Tony Raines in the DLP Chevrolet as we get set to go back to green. And Harvick's coming back in.
Must have felt something, either a tire. How about it, Matt?
DW, he was complaining about the car possibly running too hot on that last run. His spotter said another car behind as the green flag's coming out. Didn't feel like they were leaking anything, but they saw water in their pit stall. Going to come back in and check the ductwork.
Of course, he has to maintain 45 miles per hour down this pit road right here, very long pit road.
Just remember, Jeff and I were talking about, and I know Jeff down in his cutaway car has got that shaker screen that we run behind the grill here to keep all the rubber and trash out of the radiator. This place is notorious for stopping up your radiator. We got a battle for the lead, boys.
Hello, Newman. Had a run, thought better of it, but right behind them for third, Craig Biffle makes the move on Denny Hamlin. Darrell, this is what we saw last night. The first couple laps after a restart, everybody get what you can get.
Fresh tires, you got to take advantage of them because after about 10 laps, it's very difficult to make a pass without taking a chance.
What a car on the move right now is that 31 car, Jeff Burton. He just bumped up into the top 10 after starting back there in the 20th position. Jeff Burton really likes this racetrack, has a couple of wins here.
Kind of like keeping an eye on the couple of cars up ahead of Jeff Burton there.
The 2-0 and the 2-4, perhaps?
You got it.
Yeah.
Big orange and the flamethrower.
7th and 8th for Stewart and Gordon. Biffle for second place. And there he is. You know, when Kevin Harvick came down pit road, there was something square on the front of the nose on that car. Didn't know if it was a piece of debris or the result of contact.
Let's see what happens here.
It's a pretty good lick into the back of Carl Edwards in the 99 car, but I don't know if it could have maybe. The thing about it, they talked about the ductwork. That's that plenum that forces air into the radiator. You can't hit it so hard that it'll actually puncture the radiator.
Well, these cars, the front of these cars fits right up under the back of the car in front of it. It mashed the hood down onto the radiator is what it did.
Greg Biffle getting all he can get. He's got the advantage on Casey Kane. He's got the lead.
Still there, all clear.
Now here's a safe bet. Greg Biffle will probably lead the most laps tonight.
As he has done many times.
And Tony Stewart flashes past Kurt Busch for 6th place. Now for more on the Harvick situation, here's Jeff.
Mike, Darrell was talking about a minute ago about the screen in front of the cars also. He called it a shaker screen. I want you to see here, this is what we call a shaker screen. It's equipped with the little springs that sit right in front of the radiator. And what it's doing, folks, is you'll notice there's pieces of rubber. It catches the pieces of rubber before it gets a chance to get in the radiator. And as it goes around the racetrack, it actually kind of vibrates, shakes the rubber down in that plenum area that Larry's talking about to keep the radiator clean so that later on in the race, it doesn't run hot.
Thanks, Jeff. Harvick is still on pit road.
We talk about how bad these tires wear. Darrell talked about the sand, and that's what goes up in that radiator opening. That's the reason you have to have that shaker screen there.
Yeah, if the tires are wearing, where's the rubber going?
It's got to go somewhere.
That's right.
One caution so far. Brian Vickers hitting the inside wall in the backstretch. Steve is with him.
Mike, he's out of the care center. He's all right. But, Brian, what happened on the racetrack awfully early to be out here?
I don't know. I haven't seen the replay yet. We were coming off turn 2, and I let Jimmy go. He was going down the back stretch, and we were on the straightaway, and then all of a sudden the car just came around. We got pretty loose about 5 or so laps before that. I didn't know if we had maybe a tire going down, but you know, I don't think a tire would have caused that down the straightaway. There may have been some contact, but I'd have to look at the replay maybe again. I mean, it's pretty funny for the car to just turn around like that down the straightaway.
Brian, how bad's the damage? Can you get back in the race?
I don't know. It's pretty bad. You know, I tried to drive it back to the pits, and you know, we couldn't get it back in. But I'm sure the GMAC crew will do a good job fixing it. If we can get back out there, we will. We'll try to collect what points we can.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. How about Robbie Gordon in the Moen Fawcett's number 7? Biggest mover this race before the caution flag. He had come from 24th to 14th. Robbie is now in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, just within the last couple of laps, he drove right under Jeff Burton in the 31 car about a lap ago. He went right by David Strimmy in that 40 car. He's looking down the rear bumper of that 24 car now, Jeff Gordon.
What's that saying? There's old drivers and bold drivers, but there's no old, bold drivers? Well, here there are some.
The Dodge Charger 500 on Fox is sponsored by Domino's. Get the door. It's Domino's, the official pizza of NASCAR. By Radio Shack. Don't settle for anything less than Sprint's fair and flexible plan available at Radio Shack. By Ford. Bold moves. And by DirecTV. NASCAR, driven by DirecTV. Casey Kane has led the most laps, 34 here at the Dodge Charger 500, but Greg Biffle, your leader, on lap 46. Jimmy Johnson, the points leader, Jeff, started 25th. He's worked his way all the way up to number 9 and moving on up.
Yeah, he's putting a lot of pressure right now, just past his teammate, looking now to move ahead of Robbie Gordon when he catches up with him. And Jeff looked like his car's still not working very well, but for Jimmy and Chad Canals, this is the kind of race you want to have. You start back mid-pack, then qualify as well as he'd like to, but you've been able to work your way right on up steadily up in that top 10, and that's where you score points, and that's when everybody knows you're a championship contender.
Maybe sending notice. He rallied to 12th place after losing a lap during green flag racing last week. And Greg Biffle, who at this point last year won this race for his 3rd win, still looking for his 1st win this year, but leading at the moment.
Well, he's been fast all year long. He scored as many bonus points as Tony Stewart by leading laps. This team has been on kill all year long, but they haven't been able to close the deal. Couldn't get the luck to work their way, but tonight they're back on track and looking as strong as they did a year ago.
Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike, and Robbie Gordon. Mike, a guy on the move.
Well, this is the Charger 500, and this race has so far rewarded Chargers. Biffle has charged his way to the front, and Robbie Gordon all the way up to 8th place right now.
Well, just to follow up on what Jeff was talking about, Robbie Gordon, he's been fast all year long. He finally got a top 10 finish at Talladega. Remember, each week we go to the racetrack, the top 35 in owner points are locked into the show. Robbie Gordon has been there all year long, but because of his finishes, he's flirting with falling out of the top 35. He's in 33rd. Remember, he was there all year long. Last year, he had to qualify on time every race, so they need a good, solid finish just like they did at Talladega.
He lets Jimmy Johnson have the line going off into the corner, and Johnson will move up to 8th. Well, you got comers, you got goers. One of the big goers, Elliott Sadler, we'll get to him in a moment.
Yeah, here's
another goer is Jeff Gordon, who, Matt, is backing his way up now to 16th place.
Trying to end a long drought, hasn't won in 15 races, which is a long drought for Gordon. Won here 6 times, but the car was loose on that first run, Mike. They made adjustments. Now he says the car is just way too loose all the way through the corner. He's just trying to hang on to it. Says he just cannot get in the gas at all. No forward bite.
Thanks, Matt. Now, we mentioned Sadler, who has backed up into 36th, okay, 34th position right now.
Yeah, he's in big trouble. I've been watching him. He can't keep the car under control at all, and he's going to go a lap down here before long. Biffle is closing behind these guys right here pretty darn quick.
Matt?
Well, Mike, the concern early on when Darrell first noticed he was starting to fade on the first run, he thought he might have had a tire going down. Then he thought he might have had an equalized tire. And then the car just basically lost all grip, loose, much like the 24 Gordon, and a little tight in the center, but the adjustments they made have not helped, and the car continues to fall 34th in the running order at this juncture.
Darrell, there's what we were talking about. You can drive around this place if your car has a little push in the front end, but when you're loose, that's what's happened to Elliott Sadler and Jeff Gordon. You can't go anywhere. They're going to lap these cars if they don't get the caution to adjust on those things.
Last thing you want to worry about here is a car spinning out with you, and you got to have some you got to have some control here, and if you don't, you can't go anywhere.
And just to follow up on what an equalized tire is, this tire has a tire within a tire, an interliner, and they run a differential in pressures, and sometimes they'll leak across, and the pressures between the two will equalize. It causes a bad vibration.
On Denny Hamlin, who's 4th, you saw Jimmy Johnson make the pass on Kurt Busch. Johnson is now up to 7th. Steve?
After starting 25th, Mike Joy and Jimmy on the last pit stop, the only thing they did besides changing 4 tires was make an air pressure adjustment. Jimmy Johnson saying his car is very free through the corners and off.
Thanks, Steve. Now, Robbie Gordon was in that position, but he has now dropped to 9th place. And let's have a look at the right side of his car.
Looks pretty clean from here,
all
but
right. No, let's see.
He has a little Darlington stripe down it a little bit.
Dick Berggren can tell us more.
Yeah, they're concerned about that Darlington stripe, Mike, for fear that it may possibly have closed off a brake duct, at least to a degree. Things had been going great for Robbie on the first pit stop. His instruction to the crew, leave it alone. That's how good the car was, and he has consistently been told, race the racetrack. Driving a nice, smooth race, a little bit of contact. Whoa, right out sideways. Attaboy, Robbie. He hung on to it.
He knows he's on TV.
Yeah, he does.
Dick.
He's doing a great job tonight.
Come on, Dick. Nice, smooth race, and Robbie Gordon in the same sentence.
Darrell, I heard you doing a piece today earlier, I think, for the Speed group. And this racetrack, you can never relax. You can never let your guard down, even if you're out there totally by yourself.
Yeah, you have got to stay on the wheel here all the time, because just like you saw Robbie Gordon, nice and smooth, whoops, and that's what happens to you. Nice and smooth, you're comfortable, confident, whoops.
Well, that's one thing about Robbie. He is exciting to watch. How about the answer to our singular virtual crew chief question? Drivers outside of 400 points, like Mayfield, Newman, Biffle, Kurt Busch, and Carl Edwards. 80% of you say, yes, they can make it. You can win Jeff Burton's payday at Daytona in our singular virtual crew chief poll.
Whoops!
The Dodge Charger 500 on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR, and proud sponsors of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the number 8 car.
Greg Biffle still leading here at Darlington, which has been home to safety advances like one of the first uses of Armco steel barriers, like now on the side of highways. They certainly got tested here at the track Too Tough to Tame. Now this track is ringed with the safer barrier that has helped improve the safety of these drivers. A steel and foam energy reducing system developed at Indianapolis and now in use a lot of places.
I tell you what else they got here tonight. They got a lot of guys being awful nice to each other.
Why does that upset you?
Well, they're not. They're pulling over. No, you go ahead. And I mean, they listen to what they listen to what they've been told. But man, going down into one, they'll back off, let them go. Going off a two, get a little move there, let them go. Everybody's being pretty nice right now, courteous.
Our leading Dodge Chargers, Casey Kane and Ryan Newman, who started from the front row, very much in contention, as is Kurt Busch, who just dropped a spot to Robbie Gordon. Greg Biffle leading by 2.2 seconds. Let's mention Kevin Harvick spent 13 laps on pit road, but is back in the race. Hopefully with that engine cooled down. Let's see who Matt's found on pit road.
Well, Mike, it seems like every time we go to Fontana or Las Vegas, we see stars by the dozen come out to our NASCAR Nextel Cup and Busch Series races. But here in Darlington, a former star of Fox's 90210, Luke Perry. Now, I know your former co-star Jason Priestley was a huge race fan. Are you that big a fan, or just starting to get bitten by the bug?
I'm not a big enough fan that I want to drive them, but I like to come and watch. And I got a lot of friends that drive, and Casey's a great guy, and I'm happy they had me.
So a lot of your friends out in California go to Fontana or Vegas. Why did you pick Darlington?
This is the track that's too tough to tame. I mean, them super speedways are one thing. This is legitimate racing. I mean, I got to thank my friends at Fox Sports, David Hill, for letting me to come out here. It's been a real windfall for me. This is the track to watch it on. This is where racing starts. This is the best.
So you can already tell he's a huge NASCAR old school race fan, Mike.
Hey, maybe instead of 90210, we got a new series here. 29540. That's the zip code for Darlington. Oh, never mind.
How did you know that?
Bill Sloboda looked it up. How do I know anything? Hey, Robbie Gordon up to 7th. Tony Stewart dropped to 8th. Kurt Busch right there behind Mark Martin.
There's that 17 car just lurking back there. Matt Kenseth all the way up to the 11th spot.
I like a lurker here, boys.
Right behind Matt Kenseth back there in that black car, Kyle Busch in the 5 car, sitting there right now in the 11th position, 12th position, right behind his brother Kurt in the 2 car, and the caution is out for debris on the backstretch. What a huge break for drivers like Jamie McMurray, Dale Jarrett, Michael Waltrip, Sterling Marlin, just about to fall into the clutches of our leader Greg Biffle, and they would have been a lap down in just a few laps.
Well, that would cut a tire.
Yeah, it's a light piece of aluminum that come out of somebody's wheel well. They use pieces like that up inside the wheels to make wheel wells and around the back of the trunk sometime to seal off panels.
Dave Blaney in the Cat Dodge will get the free pass.
Well, it'll be feeding time on pit road again. 4 tires, adjustments, full of fuel. It's been about 40 laps since we were on pit road.
Let's get a sense of what Dale Jr. is looking for on this pit stop as we listened in.
Getting looser and looser. 10-4, I'll back up on that last change a little bit. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a good lap time.
See the dark tint on the top of his shield.
Yeah, you also see, Mike, he's going to take that off here when it gets a little bit darker. That's taped on there. He'll pull that off when the sun goes down.
A lot of different things drivers use here. Some drivers actually started to race in dark sunglasses, and they'll take those off.
Steve Burns.
Mike, Denny Hamlin just telling Mike Ford, the crew chief, my car is looser off. It seems like I've got more steering wheel for a longer period of time. I'm better on entrance, but I'm struggling with forward bite off. They're going to take half a pound out of both rear tires and drop the track bar again, Dick.
Well, in the first pit stop, Clint Boyer said his car was loose, but leave it alone. It's still loose, and now he's asked the crew to tighten it up a little bit. Wants to be able to hang on to it here in Darlington. Doesn't want the wall, Matt.
Now the 9 of Casey Kane making big headway on that Dodge. Remember on the previous stop, the car was way loose. Air pressure doesn't help, but he wants a little more. The car was good off turn 2. The 16 service already complete, 14.4 seconds. He was tight, needed to have the stagger. The air pressure opened up from the left side to the right side. They went down on the air pressure on the left side tires.
Looked like to me the real winner on pit road, Robbie Reiser, the Killer Bees. Matt Kenseth, you see right there, picked up 2 spots as well as Kurt Busch in that 2 group. Now this would be the time on pit road, including the pit stop. You see right there, Casey Kane and Matt Kenseth, 17 car. And trust me, all of these will be 4 tires. There'll be no 2 tire changes.
Now look at that cloud cover. The sun has been behind it, but there's a big gap that the sun will get right in these fellas' eyes for another half hour or so. As the sun goes down in Darlington County, drivers adjust. Tony Raines.
There's a tear off.
There's a tear off.
And where does it go? Yeah, I don't need that stupid thing anymore.
I'm done with it.
I'm done off of that.
Craig Biffle, your leader. Casey Kane, Ryan Newman, Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson, your top 5. Boyer, Kenseth, Robbie Gordon, the Busch brothers, your top 10. Green flag.
See the 29 car, Kevin Hart there, second car on the inside. He's 12 laps down, having to make repairs to that radiator. Came in here 5th in the points.
Now back in the day, 12 laps down, you'd have still been in the top 10.
Biffle steps out with the lead. Let's have a look at what happened to Harvick. Matt?
When the team pulled the radiator, Mike, out of the car, you can see the damage to the radiator. Now, what might have caused that, do you ask? Well, how about this chunk of pavement from the old lady in black? You can see it fits perfectly right in the grill. That's what the team found when they pulled the radiator out.
Hey, Matt, do you know if they have that catch screen in there like Jeff Hammond was
They had a shaker screen in there like most teams up and down pit road, Larry Mack.
Okay. Hey, take that over and give it to Jeff. He's collecting that stuff.
His memorabilia collection.
Well, that brings up another interesting question. Where did that come from? Because that's a pretty big chunk.
That was big.
.77 laps complete. Biffle in front of Kane now by 1 second.
Car kind of goes through 3 stages here. I love my car. I like my car. I hate my car.
What'd you do to my car?
Yeah.
Sounds like most leases I've had.
I've been watching this car right here. Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to go by Mark Martin in the 6 on the high side. Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to get in the top 10. Looks like he's going to complete the pass. Headed off into turn 1.
Clear, clear.
78 laps complete, 289 to go in the Dodge Charger 500.
Car up top off 2, you're clear high right there.
Goes right on by Clint Boyer in the
Three
07.
cars in front of you. He runs the top and he slows.
Casey Kane led the first 34 laps, gave way to Greg Biffle. Dave Blaney led 1 lap, but it's been all Biffle since he went to the front. Only 2 caution flags, and the only cars out of the race, Derek Cope after 11 laps, and Brian Vickers after a hard hit with the wall is also in the garage. Ryan Newman in third. Denny Hamlin, the 4th place car. And here comes Jimmy Johnson challenging for 4th on the inside and takes the spot. Steve?
Yeah, Mike, he really likes his race car right now. When the caution came out, he told crew chief Chad Canals, I'm killing them getting into turns 1 and 3, but it's through the middle that they're getting me. Let's not make any adjustments. And Chad came back and said, we're going to make a small air pressure adjustment. We need to keep up with this racetrack.
Kyle Busch going past Tony Stewart, and that is for 14th.
Yeah, Tony, he's let a couple of guys go. The 1 there of Truex, and now the 5. They've caught him off at 2 over there, kind of in a precarious place. The 49 car's a lap down, broke Tony's momentum there a couple of times, and lost some spots because of it.
You know, we've been talking about rookies. You just mentioned Mark Truex Jr. in that 1 car. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s teammate started back in the 39th position. He has moved up to the 13th position after 81 laps. So he's getting a hold of this place right now.
Hey, who else's car is much better right in front of him is Jeff Gordon's after the stop. They pass by the 49. That's a lap down. Kevin LePage is the new driver for BAM Racing. Brent Sherman left the team, gave them his notice after they decided he would not be in the car at Richmond and Darlington. So Sherman is going to take his sponsorship and race in ARCA and perhaps get back to Nextel Cup later in the season.
You know who else has made a nice recovery? Carl Edwards in this 99 car. Remember, when the race started, he started in 7th position, fell back to the point that he almost was about to get lapped back in 40th spot. He got that lucky caution on lap 29. They made adjustments. Now he's headed back toward the top 15 in 16th spot.
Yeah, he was as far back as 40th.
And just about to go a lap down when that first caution came out.
Kyle Busch makes the pass on Martin Truex.
I don't know if you noticed it or not. It's pretty subtle. But did you notice how when he jumped out from behind Truex, the car kind of wiggled? That's what happened to Vickers over on the back over there. He jumped out from behind Jimmy Johnson, and the car just got out from under him.
Tony Stewart riding, you might say, Matt, there in 15th spot.
This is Darlington, but if you're Tony Stewart, it feels more like he's on the dirt at Eldora. He said he's chasing the car all the way through the corner, needs side bite, needs forward bite. He says his arms are already half worn out, elbows up. He's really working the wheel, just needs a lot of grip, and that's something that he hasn't had most of tonight. Yesterday in practice, the car was tight, has been loose most of tonight's race.
That's classic. You fight tight all during practice, so the crew chief says, I'll fix that. And now he's loose.
Here's the Freightliner Dodge for LePage.
Has the same look possibly Kevin Harvick was. Looks like he's running warm there in the 49 car.
Well, he had a little different problem, Larry.
Well, he's been getting passed by a lot of cars. That's off of turn 2. This is the time when Tony Stewart lost his momentum. You see the water coming out of the overflow right there, Larry. So it looks like there might be debris on the grill.
It definitely looked like that grill was almost blocked up solid, but add another one to our Darlington stripe count.
Greg Biffle now in front of Casey Kane by 2 seconds. 2 quick caution flags early. Still 281 laps to go at the Lady in Black.
.92 laps in, time for a Visa race break here in Darlington. Casey Kane, all 3 of his career wins have come from the pole. He was on the pole for this one when it started, led 34 laps. A little bit of a problem on this next item in turn 2. And for a moment, it looked like maybe Congressman Patrick Kennedy was driving here. But it was Brian Vickers, said he didn't know what happened. He was okay. Meanwhile, Kevin Harvick had to pit when they restarted.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick got a piece of debris through the nose of his car, penetrated and busted the radiator. They had to take him behind the wall, but they repaired it. He's back on track.
Greg Biffle taking the lead. He won this race last year. He's led in 9 of the 11 races this year. and is leading once again. Roush at this point last year had 5 wins. Right now they only have 1.
Only have 1, but right now Greg Biffle is leading, and you also got Matt Kenseth in 5th, and Mark Martin has now moved up to 9th. So three of the Roush cars in the top 10. They've got trouble here off the corner.
And this is a Visa race break. No matter what it takes, life takes Visa. Mike?
Jeff Green has gone around. Looked like there were 2 cars involved.
Yeah, he got a little bump from somebody. I'm not sure who it was.
All right.
I think you're just exactly right. I think he's going to be okay.
3rd caution of the night.
10-4, Jeff. You caught up here. What can I do?
Lap 95.
Looks like he was maybe pedaling it a tad here. And,
Elliott Sadler in the 38 car.
I'd say Elliott's just maybe a little bit frustrated with the whole evening.
And Jeff Green has not had a great evening. We have got a report that he had lost 3rd gear, which certainly would hurt him leaving the pits and on restarts in the transmission.
That's about that place where that magic mark is over there. Where I always say, you know, if they'd put an X on the wall so I know where to turn left.
Is that turn 2A or is that 2B?
It's 2B.
Or not to be in
Yes,
the case
in
of
this
Jeff
case.
Green.
All his flaps are up, Larry. Look at that. You hear him out of the throttle.
Guys, we didn't hit anything, didn't get hit. Come on, Jeff.
Come on, get your 4 tires.
So Elliott Sadler gets into Jeff Green, and the caution is out for the 3rd time tonight. Casey Mears will get the free pass.
Well, that didn't sound good, Larry.
Remember, I just had mentioned he's got gearbox problems in 3rd gear.
Baby's rattling.
Well, she's been 25 laps. Pit road will be busy again.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
Exactly.
4 tires.
And maybe an adjustment that will help this race car. It's one of those tracks that doesn't necessarily change that much over the course of the race, but you're just always hunting something to give the car more grip, whether it's air pressure, wedge, track bar adjustment, anything that'll just help the grip of the race car.
I was telling some of the young drivers yesterday, I said, look, your car will never be perfect. You're just trying to make your car better than everybody else's, because you're just going to be the best of what's out there. Steve.
Hey, DW, Jimmy Johnson says my car is tightening up just a little bit off of turn 2. They're going to go up on the Panhard bar and make an air pressure adjustment, Dick.
On the first stop, Matt Kenseth was a little bit hot. They pulled tape. He's up to 220 degrees. They're going to leave the nose alone under the real good clean of the radiator grill. Matt.
Defending winner, the 16 Biffle on the top side, no changes. Meanwhile, the car in the middle, you can already see they've completed the chassis adjustments for Kane. He felt like Biffle was beating him on entry into 3 and off. Down the hill off turn 2, the 9 is down and away. Great stop again by the Dodge boys.
All right, just remember the last stop, Matt Kenseth, Robbie Reiser, the 17 car, they gained 2 spots. They do it again right there. Kyle Busch in the 5, great stops last week at Richmond. That group gains 3 spots on pit road. Here's the time, including the stop. Casey Kane, Matt Kenseth. Matt Kenseth, that's 4 spots he's picked up on the last 2 pit stops.
Problem for Clint Boyer, who ran a good part of this race so far, up in the top 5. Away gets one of those rear tires.
He's going to have his work cut up for him now. Tail end the longest line.
The Dodge Charger 500 on Fox is sponsored by Ford. Bold move. By Burger King, who reminds you to have it your way. By Stanley Tools. And by Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of NASCAR.
Getting set for the restart, Casey Kane, Greg Biffle, Matt Kenseth, Ryan Newman, Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson, the top half dozen. Robbie Gordon had trouble in the pits. He came in 7th and came out in 11th. Lost 4 spots.
You see on our Fox tracks, that's pretty much pace car speed, caution lap speed, right about 50 miles per hour.
Green flag.
Kevin Harvick may just give Mr. Kane a little bit of a problem here.
He's trying to get one of his 12 laps back after having that radiator problem.
Man, that's hard to do right there. You only do that on new tires. Run off of turn 2 side by side like that.
Well, he was 13 laps down, now 12, and now if he gets past Kane, it'll be 11.
Whoa, if he doesn't wreck Kane. Man, what a wad.
This is about 11th through about 20th right here, riding with Jeff Burton in the 31 car. He's in the 16th position now as he's going to drive to the inside of Tony Stewart in the 20 car. Tony will prevail. You could hear him really have the feather of the throttle, just a little bit of give and take right there on Jeff Burton's part getting off into turn 1.
Now, despite that spin, Jeff Green pitted with the leaders, and he has stayed on the lead lap.
Well, I tell you, guys, right now, though, I am really impressed with the job every driver's doing. You hear that giving and taking, working the throttle, giving each other some room, being really nice to each other, Larry. I don't know if I can last for 367 laps or not, but
it's working right now.
How about that rookie Denny Hamlin in 5th place, Steve?
Doing a good job, Mike Joy. He just told the team prior to the caution, I can't turn the car in the middle of 1 and 2, so they added air to the left side tires, took a little bit out of the right front, and made a track bar adjustment.
That'll be the game on pit road pretty much, is adjustments, major adjustments, every pit stop, even for the cars up at the front of the pack.
Yeah, it adds to the stripe count.
Don't be too hasty here. That's one of those lightly, slightly, and politely little rubs right there. Just can't do that all nightly. That's the problem.
Got a little battle for the lead here. Greg Biffle, 16, gets passed by Casey Kane on the 9. On the high side, Kane takes the point back. Looks like Biffle wanted to try that crossover move, DW.
Got to time it right. Guy in front of you's got to be really out of the gas for a period of time for you to make that work.
Now Biffle drives back by Casey Kane on the high side, getting into turn 3, but they better look in their rearview mirror. Matt Kenseth in that 17 car, he is a-coming. Remember, Matt started back in the 31st position. 104 laps into this thing. Here he is looking down the pipe at those top 2. Another cat having a pretty solid night right there. We just saw him, Ryan Newman, in that 12 car. Started on the outside of the front row. Finally put some of his bad luck behind him last week at Richmond, finished 8th. And I talked to Roger Penske, his car owner. Right now, Darrell, and you'll relate to this, you've been talking about this. They're not worried about the top 10 in points. Right now, he's 23rd in points, 205 points behind 10th. They're looking at the 400-point window number. And right now, he's 548 points behind our leader, as we are right now. He just needs another good, solid finish. Top 5s, top 10s.
Yeah, once you get that far behind, it's about all you can do is hope to get within the 400-point window, and that hadn't happened yet in the 2 years that we've had the chase.
When the circuit leaves Richmond in September, the top 10 in points, plus anyone within 400 points of the leader in the standings will compete in the chase for the Nextel Cup. 400 points was chosen because no one's won the championship in recent memory from further back than that with 10 races to go.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 8 car, in the 8th position right now.
13th place, Bobby Labonte in the Cheerios 43. Jeff Burton. Linda Petty this morning, Richard Petty's wife, talked about her life as a racing wife, as did Stevie Waltrip, to a group organized by Motor Racing Outrage in a tea sponsored by Lisa France Kennedy. And it was pretty neat as Matt Kenseth makes the pass on Casey Kane for 2nd. Linda talked about how the biggest thing in their first years of racing was when she finally got a station wagon and could haul the whole brood of Petty kids from track to track. But sometimes they'd go race on the northern swing, and without phones in the motel rooms and news being scarce on the TV or radio, sometimes it'd be a day or two before she found out what happened from race to race.
No
certainly
cell
different.
phones.
Nope.
Carl Edwards in the 99 car. He just goes by Bobby Labonte in the 43 car. That's for the 14th position. And there's David Stremme, remember, qualified up in the top 5 in the 40 car. He continues to hang in there.
5th place. Point leader Jimmy Johnson.
But you know, Mike, you're talking about that, and things were so different 25, 30 years ago. Everywhere in the whole world, I guess, but in racing particularly, some of these younger kids that they look at you and shake your head like you got to be making that up. It's like when your dad used to tell you walk to school, you know.
Hey, I walk to school.
Barefooted?
No.
There's a battle between a couple of teammates and a couple of rookies. David Stremme in the 40 car, Reed Sorensen in the 41 car. This is a battle for 17th. I believe the 9 car starting to fade just a little bit. Casey Kane, and remember Matt Kenseth in the 17 just went by him a few laps ago. Now Ryan Newman in the 12 has pulled up to him.
I tell you, these cars beat all I've ever seen. This track does. It's like somebody flips a switch. You got a perfectly good race car, you're happy with it, and all of a sudden in one lap, you say, what in the world's going on? My car's gone to junk.
110 down, 2:57 to go, and Greg Biffle is the man in Darlington, South Carolina. His National Guard Ford has now been out in front for 68 laps.
You got to be willing to fight for it.
When you talk about relics, this place is a relic. It's a 50-year-old super speedway that was meant to run 140 miles an hour on it. We lapped this thing at 170 now.
That first race, they started 75 cars here. They started 43 tonight in the Dodge Charger 500. Greg Biffle, your leader over Matt Kenseth. Kenseth got to lead 1 lap, similar to what Biffle and Mark Martin did last week at Richmond. One of those 5 bonus points for you, 5 for me.
Hey, what our Bud Poles said, or Casey Kane in that 9 car, he's been losing about a position a lap. Matt, looks like the handlings went away a little bit on the 9 car.
Larry Mack, if he's going to score his 4th win from the pole for his career, they have a lot of work to do on the 9. The car is the worst, he says, it has been all night. Just absolutely no grip. The car is a tough car to hang on to, very loose. His team telling him, like Darrell Hammond has told you so many times, just do the best you can and just try not to get frustrated. But he continues to fade. Now 7th.
Thanks, Matt. Kevin Harvick is coming back to the pits. He fell 13 laps down with a broken radiator. They replaced it, and now he's coming back to pit road.
Check the right front rotor and everything. Make sure nothing's getting ready to fly apart because it's big.
Tough night for Harvick.
So that tells me he got a really bad vibration over there. He thinks he's got a broken rotor or something.
And the last thing you want to do 13 laps down is stay out there and have something go amiss and hit that wall.
7th place, Casey Kane, Kurt Busch. Biffle out front by 0.3 of a second. Kenseth in 2nd at this very unique egg-shaped oval. NASCAR's first paved super speedway requires a delicate and different approach. Here is Jeff Hammond with tonight's State Farm safety report.
When you come to Darlington, you know you're going to get a Darlington stripe. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. So all of these teams have learned the best way to protect your race car is really simply go by your favorite local lumber supply place and purchase a 4x4. Attach it to the outside of your roll cage, between the roll cage and the sheet metal of the race car. And what this will do, it will allow you to go up there, make contact with the outside wall, earn your Darlington stripe, but yet protect the wheels. That's what it's designed to do. If you notice, this 4x4, when you hit the wall, it doesn't let the wall really make hard contact with your tires, especially the rear tires. You don't want to knock the alignment of the rear end out, or as well as the front end. And this simple 4x4 will allow you to do that. Mike?
Thanks, Jeff. Wooden car.
I told the story yesterday, though. A couple of years ago, there you see we're up to 12 on our Darlington stripes. But sometimes you can't find boards, and you'll just put tubing there. A couple of years ago over in the Busch garage, one of the Childers cars, they were trying to find some bars to weld. I think it was either Johnny Sauter or Kevin Harvick's car. They couldn't find any. One of their neighbors' jack handle just happened to be in the jack behind them. They took the jack handle out, welded it in there, and the next morning the guys reminded us the jack handle. I knew where it was, though.
Here's Dale Jr. about to be a top 5 car as he draws a bead on Denny Hamlin. Another mover is Carl Edwards, who just passed Tony Stewart to move up to 14th place, Steve.
Mike, he's had some anxious moments. Now you see the 99 in front of the 20. A few laps ago, it was the other way around. Now, he had something, Carl Edwards had something on the grill. His spotter, Bobby Hudson, went to Mark Robertson, the spotter on the 20 car of Tony Stewart, and said, hey, have Tony slow down so Carl can pull up. They got close enough to where it created a vacuum and pulled whatever debris was on the grill of the 99. Now, 21-year-old Kyle Busch, you see him there in the 5 car. He's having problems getting on the throttle. He said, especially off turn 2. He started 29th. You see he's up into the 10th, or currently 13th. His problem is having trouble getting back on the gas, but the good news is his pit crew has picked up a bunch of spots. On lap 28, they gained 3 positions. Lap 69, 2 spots, and most recently on lap 95, they gained 3 positions.
Thanks, Steve. Now here is Carl Edwards, and you see the grill opening above the word Fusion. It's clean now, and here's what it looked like before.
Well, that's Stewart right behind him. They were coming down the front here, and all of a sudden Carl just stopped almost, and I thought, what in the world? Something happened to his car, but he let Tony go by, and then he got up behind Tony and got that little piece of debris blown off of there.
And Darrell, the thing I noticed, there's not a lot of opening there to begin with.
Cutting it pretty close, looks to me like.
New leader Matt Kenseth has repassed Greg Biffle. Kenseth led 1 lap earlier when Biffle allowed him to go by and pick up 5 bonus points, and then Biffle retook the lead. But here's the pass.
That's the cleanest way to make a pass here. On the straightaway, pull down, let the guy go, and follow him.
They start racing each other. Ryan Newman in the 12, he'd be right there with them. And Robbie Gordon in the 7, he goes by Casey Kane in the 9.
Whoa.
That's another position.
Hang on to her, Robbie.
Robbie's trying to add to our Darlington stripe number.
You keep an eye on that number 7 car. You will not be bored.
Larry, he's trying to add to our debris problems.
I know Casey Kane in the 9 would love to add to our number of cautions as far as another one coming out where he can get to pit road and get some adjustments on that thing.
Matt Kenseth, your new leader, with 238 laps to go in the Dodge Charger 500 on Fox.
NASCAR on Fox. We're glad you're with us here. Prime time racing from Darlington. Matt Kenseth, your leader, through 135 laps. We've had 8 lead changes, 4 different leaders. And Larry McReynolds and the crew talked about the great history at this track, Jeff Hammond. In fact, Matt Kenseth said Darlington kind of like Lambeau Field, a lot of history there. It's one of the places everyone wants to win at before they retire. He qualified 31st, but he's a guy who does well from back of the pack.
No matter where Matt Kenseth qualifies, he and Robbie Reiser put together a game plan, and he's able to kind of execute and move that 17 car up through the pack. There we see Robbie Reiser. He and the Killer Bees have had great pit stops all night long. They've got him up there close to the front, and Matt is a very finesseful driver, and right now he's showing everybody this is how you run Darlington.
Matt Kenseth, the biggest mover tonight. Meanwhile, Dale Jarrett at 29th in the 88 car, officially announced today and had been talked about, a 2-year deal next year to go with Toyota and Michael Waltrip. And this is a situation where actually his crew knew about it a little bit earlier.
Yeah, they actually had a meeting a week ago and discussed what was going to go on with the 88 car. And everybody to a man said, look, we've got a full season in front of us. We got a great sponsor in UPS. We're not giving up. Dale's not giving up. Everybody right now is pulling together, and everybody says, well, that can't happen. But I believe the caliber of driver and the kind of person that Dale Jarrett is, driving for Robert Yates, and everybody knows the integrity of that team, Larry McReynolds in particular, they will pull together and make it happen. And I think that, you know, it will be good as far as the rest of the year for UPS and 88 fans. They'll be doing a great job, won't they, Larry?
I think there's no question this will be a good opportunity for Robert Yates probably to find the next young up-and-coming driver to put over there in that second Robert Yates car.
Well, Larry, they got to do something. We've been seeing this coming. I mean, look at Dale Jarrett. He's back here running in 29th position. Almost got lapped already tonight. And you got his teammate down here in 36th position, Elliott Sadler, that has been lapped tonight. They got to make some changes here.
And I know it's ripping Doug and Robert Yates apart because they know what engines they have in there compared to the Roush cars. It's pretty much the same. And right now you've got 4 Roush cars in the top 12.
I've said all along, they ought to go get Roush cars and because they give Roush engines, they ought to get Roush to give them cars.
Let's have a look at our rookies, many of whom ran up front early in the race. Clint Boyer had a problem on pit road, started tail into the longest line. So he's back at 27th. Denny Hamlin is the class of the rookie class right now in 6th. Watch Reed Sorensen in the target car, and the wall becomes the target. And away he goes.
Well, I know we're going to be watching the chase for the Nextel Cup Championship all year long, all the way down to Homestead Miami Speedway. But I think we're going to be watching this Rookie of the Year battle, the Robestos Rookie of the Year battle between these 5 or 6 guys. They keep flipping back and forth. After finishing second last week, Denny Hamlin took the lead back from Clint Boyer in the lead in the rookie points.
Hello, Larry. Here comes that 48 car. He's just been clicking them off here, and he's up here in 3rd place, and he's caught Ryan Newman, and Matt Kentz is not too far ahead of him right now.
Well, and I know they didn't get the qualifying run in that they felt like they should get. They qualified back in the 25th position, but I know watching them in final practice last night, talking to Chad Canals, pretty happy. He swept the races here in 2004. 7 starts here, 6 top 10 finishes. That's tough to do at this place. And they're trying to rebound from a pretty rough Richmond last week.
Yeah, but golly, did they rebound at Richmond?
Yeah,
come back
12th.
Finish 12th after being in. I mean, they ran 30th all night long, a lap down. Come back there at the end of the night, got them a 12th place finish, maintained a point lead.
Here he comes on Jeff Green, the Best Buy Chevy. Green spun earlier, stayed on the lead lap, but has now gone 1 lap down. Rookies, Martin Truex, Reed Sorensen.
Whoa, hang on to her, Martin. Martin's giving me a little wave there.
With 3 in front of you, really check up off of 2 over there where you've been having trouble.
That's a 21st place. And here's Tony Raines in the Texas Instruments DLP HDTV Chevy, working his way up through the field.
Whoa, man, listen to him spin the rear tires.
So keep doing that.
Yeah, you saw he was one of our biggest movers because he started back in the 42nd position, still hanging out on the lead lap in 23rd right now.
Tell you, Tony Raines was someone that we looked at to drive our Toyota trucks in the truck series, but he wanted to be in Cup. Yep. He said, I'm gonna hold out for a good Cup ride, and by golly, he's got it, and he's doing a great job. Listen to that, working that throttle though, and when he finally does get it wide open, listen to the rear tires trying to spin.
Dale, you drive it, I think, as much with the throttle as you do the steering wheel here.
Hey, was that Robbie Gordon going by? Look at that, going by Martin. Is it coming?
So Robbie's up to 8th. Mark slips to 9th. Steve?
Mark started 17th, and just a lap or 2 ago, Mike, he told crew chief Pat Trison that his car is, for the most part, very good, but he feels like that right rear is a little worn out.
Well, we're getting within about 20 laps of what would be green flag stops. They were on pit road back to lap 96. Right between 160 and 165, I guarantee you everybody's screaming about their tires and grip.
Looks like somebody's on pit road now. Is that the 26 car?
A little early. We'll check on that when we come back. Matt Kenseth leads by 1.5 seconds in the Dodge Charger 500 on Fox.
Couldn't see with the post. When it comes to points, every lap counts.
The Dodge Charger 500 on Fox is sponsored by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge.
The caution is out at Darlington for the 4th time tonight. This time it's our defending Nextel Cup champion. Tony Stewart spins at turn number 4.
It's all by himself. Let's see what he does here.
Car just comes around with him right there in the middle of turn 4. He started to race off in pretty good shape, but we've been getting reports he's been not very happy with that car.
No, you know, he complained about a car yesterday, and I think, Larry, it's just getting close to pit stop time. So what happens to Dale Jarrett here? He goes up, he smacks the fence, and it wasn't but just a few laps here later that Tony spins. I think these guys are out of tires.
Now, the car that was on pit road when we went to break was the 49 of Kevin LePage, was not the 26. Stewart stays on the lead lap after that spin, and everyone will pit. Steve?
Mike, just before the caution flag flew, Jimmy Johnson told Chad Canals, I was getting a little tight getting into 3, whereas I was killing them there before. They'll make a Panhard bar adjustment and air pressure, Dick.
Matt Kenseth says his car is a little bit free, a very minor air pressure adjustment. That's it. This crew has been lightning fast all night long. Matty.
Ryan Newman working on his second top 5 in the last 18 races. Solid stop going on so far. Man, a few words, said, I really don't have many complaints about the car. Just a small air pressure adjustment, 14.6 seconds for Newman.
You see the race off pit road. It's going to be hard for the 17 to gain any spots now because he's leading. But Jimmy Johnson, Chad Canals, the 48 group, they gain a spot, as well as Denny Hamlin. There you see Ryan Newman loses 2 spots. Carl Edward loses 1. And Casey Kane gains 4 spots. There's the times on pit road, including the pit stop.
Nice job by Robbie Gordon's crew to redeem themselves after that last stop. This time they got in and got out in the same position, 7th.
Got to tell those pit crews like you tell the driver. Don't give me 110%, just give me 100.
Under caution for the 4th time tonight. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. Set to go racing after pit stops. Those visors clamped down shut. Hands on the wheel, one on the shifter, ready to go. We still have 30 lead lap cars. Kyle Petty got the free pass on this, the 4th caution of the night. And with Matt Kenseth leading Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Newman, and Greg Biffle, we're set to go back to green.
This is where it gets pretty exciting for those lead lap cars. We're starting to get quite a line of cars on the inside, the cars that are 1 or more laps down, especially getting off into turn 1.
Yeah, you want to clear that inside line there, so you got a clear shot into turn 1. First 3 guys were able to do that.
Ryan Newman goes to the bottom of the racetrack to clear the lap cars over there.
Yeah, that's Michael, and Michael gave him a little bit of room there, let him go by on the inside.
This is the best feeling in the world here for these guys in the DW.
Oh, yeah.
4 new good years.
Yeah, you're having fun right now, but only for a few laps.
Denny Hamlin in 11 just drives by Jimmy Johnson in the 48 for 2nd spot, 1 lap after the restart.
Steve?
Mike, when the caution came out, Denny Hamlin told crew chief Mike Ford, the car just doesn't feel as good as it did early in the race. Doesn't feel as balanced. It gets tight when I catch someone in traffic. It just won't come off the corners. So on that pit stop, they took a pound out of both left side tires and gave him 4 tires.
Boy, his teammate is playing slice and dice with the traffic. That's Yaley in the 18 and Stewart right behind him. 2 more of the Gibbs cars linked up at 21st place.
Yeah, I think probably Tony told Zipadelli after that spin, I told you this thing wasn't very good, now fix it.
Looks like they did, at least for a little while.
Going to make the pass here on his teammate. Oh, if you can just keep it that good all night.
Truex also gets past Yaley. Saturday baseball on Fox, 1 p.m. Eastern time.
But Darrell, they're all on new tires. It takes a few laps for these guys to be able to tell if the adjustments they made are an improvement.
Well, look at
get
Jeff,
some laps on the tires.
Excuse me, look at Jeff Gordon, though. He can tell he just shot past Scott Riggs and busted out of a big pack of traffic. Matt?
Steve Letarte, his crew chief, continues to try to stay ahead of the racetrack, continues to try to tighten Gordon up. Gordon, like just about everybody else, including Tony Stewart. Now that run was about 50 laps, the longest we've had green flag run tonight. The cars all got extremely loose at the end, and that's what all the drivers in my area, like Biffle, were complaining about. The car was just extremely loose, hence Stewart spinning out.
Yeah, with Matt, you could hear him. I mean, like the 96 car, we were riding with him, spinning the rear tires. You're just going to wear them out, and then the car gets really bad loose.
A little battle for fourth here heating up. Greg Biffle in the 16 car, Ryan Newman in the 12 has pretty much been in the top 5 all night long, closing in on Greg Biffle.
Time for our next singular virtual crew chief question. Can Biffle go back-to-back in Nextel Cup? Text the word crew to 191 on your Singular wireless phone or log on to foxsports.com/singular, and you'll also be entered to win Jeff Burton's payday at the July race in Daytona. Biffle has led 82 laps so far tonight. Currently, he's in 4th. Let's have a look back at his win here 1 year ago.
Greg Biffle's the racetrack.
He's got Gordon. Made it look easy. Greg Biffle leads 176 laps and wins the Dodge Charger 500.
And that's his only win here, but he's always been so competitive here. I go back a couple of years ago. He pretty much had him spanked in the Southern 500 in the fall a couple of years ago, and the car bottomed out till it just finally drug the ring gear off the flywheel.
And that was the race where he and Doug Rickard, his current crew chief, hooked up. And it was obvious from that race, first time they raced together, they were going to be something special as a team.
Greg Biffle makes the pass on Hamlin for 3rd. Hamlin's teammate Tony Stewart broke through one pack of traffic, but now goes to the bottom. That's Scott Riggs up top. Now he's going to fill the hole on the outside of Mayfield.
Got to be careful right there coming off the corner. It closes up fast.
Yaley in his draft makes the pass. How about Kurt Busch in that pack he's with? Boy, that's a knot of traffic right there. Here comes Stremme on the bottom, who qualified 4th in the 40, trying to work his way back up through. Things get a little dicey. This is not so polite a bunch as we saw earlier.
Oh, well, we know from our past experience, as the night wears on, patience runs thin.
Now let's move up to about 6th place, where Dale Earnhardt Jr. is 4 seconds off the lead, Matt.
Well, Dale Jr., driver 8, currently running in the 6th spot, trying to do something for the first time in his Nextel Cup career that he did back in Busch, and that's win back-to-back races. Jr. having a very solid night, but like he mentioned in the pre-race show to Chris Myers and to Jeff Hammond, he hasn't been feeling well most of this weekend.
Hey, I think I'm all right, but if you know anybody my size, might be slamming my armpit here tonight, but I think I'm gonna make it. I think I'll be all right, just in case. So.
And you can hear Junior saying basically to Tony Jr., his crew chief, in case someone falls out my size, you might want to keep him around just in case I need a relief driver. Junior told the team earlier, just keep the car tight. I want to retain a little bit of tightness in the car as much as possible. And DW talked about that earlier. You want the car to be as tight around here versus being on the loose side.
Right now, the only driver out of the race is Derek Cope. Cope is much stockier than Junior and likely would not fit in Junior's seat.
And you know, we're only about 20 laps away from halfway. That's a little unusual that we only have one driver that is not out on the racetrack right now.
Well, I know Junebug pretty well. It did have to get pretty bad for him to get out of that race car, particularly the way it's running right now.
There you go, with as good as it is.
Even Brian Vickers, who crashed to bring out the first caution of the night, got his car repaired. And he's back on track, although 114 laps down. Matt Kenseth out front by half a second. Jimmy Johnson knocking that margin down by about 1/10 of a second a lap with 200 laps to go. Greg Biffle 1.8 seconds off the lead. Denny Hamlin 3.5 back. There they all are, with Newman and Junior 5 seconds.
And the other thing, Mike, you look at where Dale Jr.'s running, kind of running all all by himself. There's nobody in front of him really. There's nobody behind him. He can sort of, for Darlington, be a little bit relaxed.
Behind him, Robbie Gordon in 7th, Jeff Gordon 8th, Jeff Burton in 9th, and Carl Edwards in 10th.
The Dodge Charger 500 on Fox is sponsored by Singular, raising the bar. By Napa Auto Parts. Napa, get the good stuff. By Wendy's, 4 new Frescata sandwiches. Do Wendy's, do what tastes right. And by Allstate, official insurance sponsor of NASCAR. Matt Kenseth leading Jimmy Johnson. Time for a Visa race break. 193 laps to go. Kevin Harvick came in red hot, 5th in points, but the track too tough to tame. Jeff Hammond tamed his car in a hurry.
Yeah, the track itself basically came up, put a hole in the radiator, made those guys go behind pit wall, make repairs, and right now it's been a long night for him. He's 16 laps down.
Jimmy Johnson, points leader coming in, started 25th.
Yeah, but he went charging up toward the front, and right now he's running second behind Matt Kenseth. A good recovery by these guys.
Tony Stewart was second in points here, having trouble. This little spin out pushed him back to 24th, back on lap 115.
Yeah, but Chris, he's already recovered. He's back up to 20th, and Tony's guys are back on track. They'll keep working on his race car. He'll be better by the end of the night.
This has been a Visa race break. No matter what it takes, life takes Visa. And moments ago, Matt Yoakum following up on Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's trying to win back-to-back races, currently running 6th. Now, after winning Richmond, he said, hey, I feel great. It's great to be back in victory lane. Must be tough for a guy who told us early in the day, little flu, little stomach type of problem, for him to hang in there, especially on this track.
Yeah, it's a tough racetrack. I talked again to his crew chief early on, or late Friday afternoon, and he said he just wasn't feeling very well. They're trying to keep him in his bus, let him get some rest and everything, get a lot of fluids into him. Well, he's already reported right now, even though we're just now getting up to halfway, guys, you may want to start looking for a relief driver. And DW, you know, sometimes these long runs are good for a driver because he stays focused. As you see him go by Denny Hamlin right now, moving up to 5th place. But other times, you'd like to see a caution every now and then so you can catch your breath.
Yeah, well, what really makes a difference, Jeff, is what Dale Jr.'s got right now. It's a pretty good driving race car. He's not having to put out any extra effort here to kind of maintain pace. It gives him a chance to really just sit there and put some laps down and get closer to the end. Closer to the end he gets, the better off he'll be. You know, the more likely he'll make it.
When the car is good, you feel good. No matter how bad you feel.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I mean, you know, you're not going to get out of a good race car. You might decide, hey, this thing's pitiful and I need out of it, but not a good race car.
Matt Kenseth trying to win his first here at Darlington. There are 20 victories represented in this field, including 6 by Jeff Gordon and 3 by Dale Jarrett. Matt Kenseth is trying to go to victory lane at America's oldest NASCAR superspeedway for the first time. Dick?
In case you have just joined us, Matt Kenseth started in the 31st position. He practiced well, but complained that he time trialed badly. Said after his qualifying run, I hate it here. I never qualify well here. Well, he did manage to motor up front with a lot of help from his pit crew that has either held his position or gained spots on every pit stop. And let us remind you that to this event tonight, in Matt Kenseth's entire career, his average starting position for all of his wins is 22nd. He usually wins from the back of the pack.
That's a good point. And Larry, his Robbie Reiser-led team is looking like the team of his championship year. The car comes in, it comes out having gained positions and running better than he was in the last green run.
Well, remember last year, you know, it took them, you know, almost a third of the season before they even got a top 5 finish. But this year, we had no rule changes essentially from last year with the exception of the Ford Fusion nose and tail, and they picked up right where they left off. But I'm going to tell you, we need to update. Chris Myers was talking about Tony Stewart's spin back on lap 149. I've been watching Tony. He's just lost 2 or 3 positions over the last few laps. In fact, Jeremy Mayfield in the 19 is locked in on him. But the biggest problem, our leader Matt Kenseth right now is only about 7 seconds behind him, which is less than the distance to the back straightaway from lapping him.
Car's bouncing in the back a lot, Larry, and it hits the bumps and it really snaps loose on him. It's got to be a handful to hang on to. What are they saying, Matt?
DW, he said the car is still free. In fact, he said, the next pit stop, I want you to bury the track bar. He goes, then when you take it all the way down to the bottom, I want you to take it down 6 more rounds. That's just how free, how loose this car is. He's just chasing it still all over the racetrack.
And Darrell, I've got to believe when Tony Stewart is complaining about a car being that loose, you better get pretty aggressive with the changes on it, because it must be all but wrecking.
It's kind of shocking, really, Larry, because you think about week in and week out, that is the one race car consistently that has no handling issues. They're usually spot on. So for him to miss the setup here tonight is really surprising.
But you know what, Darrell? Where else do we run that the setup relates to this place here?
Yeah, probably nowhere.
Nowhere, exactly. It's one of a kind.
Michael Waltrip off the pace in the Napa Dodge.
Starting to come again.
I thought I heard that car really running flat a couple of times by here lately, as if it had lost a cylinder or broken a header pipe or something.
Of course, Michael's problems would continue. Remember, he's out of the top 35 in owner points as he has been the last 2 weeks. So if things don't turn around, that means he'll have to go to Charlotte, Lowe's Motor Speedway in a couple of weeks, and qualify on time again.
And how much did he make this race by? About 3/1000.
Just barely.
Just barely sneaked into this one. So, yeah, we need to do a little work here.
Halfway in the Dodge Charger 500. Let's have a look back to 4th place. 5 seconds off the lead, Ryan Newman. In the Altel Dodge. Same front row here as last year, Kane and Newman. 1/3 of all Darlington Cup races have been won from the front row.
And Newman, of course, sitting there running in the 4th position. He has not had a top 5 finish since he finished 3rd in the Daytona 500 back in February.
Jeff Burton up in the top 10. He is twice a winner here. He won both 1997 races at this track.
He's the man 11th in points right now, only 11 points out of 10th coming into this race.
And he would move into 10th the way they're running right now, because Casey Mears is toward the tail end of the lead lap.
Now here's Mr. Consistency when it comes to Darlington. Bobby Labonte has a win here and has the, I don't know, Larry, you've got the numbers. How many top 5s and 10s?
Well, the biggest thing, Darrell, and you know by racing here how tough this is, 20 consecutive races here without a DNF. He's been running at the end of 20 consecutive races. Put me on the spot, didn't you?
Labonte in 11th place. Michael Waltrip going a 2nd lap down to Matt Kenseth, who leads Jimmy Johnson by 0.6 of a second in the Dodge Charger 500 on Fox. Welcome back to Darlington. 192 laps in to the Dodge Charger 500. Jimmy Johnson has just taken the lead from Matt Kenseth. He got to within 0.3 of a second of him, backed off to about 3/4 of a second, and then made this charge.
And I know the folks at home are saying, well, if this track is so dadgum tough and so hard to drive, hadn't had very many wrecks, hadn't had very many cautions, what's the deal? Well, you race the track. And the track's being nice to everybody right now.
Trying to finish. We got plenty of time to race, 174 laps. All right, Dick Bergeron, why did Matt Kenseth pull over and let Jimmy Johnson go?
Because he was being polite, and the car has gone tight. He knew he couldn't hold Johnson off, so just let him go. I mean, that is the smart way to do it at this point in the event. He's talked about the need to pull a spring rubber on the next pit stop. And Dick, he did it on the straightaway where you lose the least amount of time, because his teammate Greg Biffle's back there in 3rd place in the 16 car.
He needs to take his spring rubber out and give it to Carl Edwards. Teammates, make a little swap here.
Yeah, Carl Edwards, you can hear the exasperation as he talks about his handling.
Still too tight, buddy. Too tight in the center of 1 and 2. We got a spring rubber hanging on the right rear.
So there you have it. If you can get it from Matt, just get on up there.
Steve?
Hey, Mike, didn't you say early in the race, in Edwards had dropped all the way to 40th, I think it was.
Correct.
Well, let's remember, early in the race, he said this car was so tight, it was undrivable. The end of the most recent radio communication we heard was, he said that the car is starting to come around the longer we run, and he's inside the top 10.
And what he meant, Steve, Darrell, Mike, about do you have a spring rubber hanging on the right rear spring, is they can put a little piece of rubber in that coil spring, stiffen the rate, make the car turn. But rather than a crew member have to carry one over there to put it in, they have one actually attached to the spring. It'll be hanging just right here. Now, this is one coming out, but that's about the size rubber they will put in there, but it'll just be hanging on the spring where they can just pop it up in there just like that. It increases the rate of that spring, will help the car turn from the center off.
Yeah, it's tie wrap there. They drill a couple of little holes in the spring rubber, tie wrap it to the spring, and then if they need it, they just pop it in the between the coils, and away you go.
DW loves the spring rubber animation.
Just stay away from that battery problem. Track bar, I'm good with.
Speaking of which, Michael Waltrip, who has fallen 2 laps down, has changed ignition boxes, switched over to the spare. He's now gone 4 laps down, and hopefully that'll get his Dodge running a little better.
And we did talk about only one car being out of the race. I think we need to mention again Brian Vickers, who was involved in that very first caution back on lap 27. They repaired that car. He's back out there in 42nd position, 115 laps down.
Yeah, and Michael just went by, and I don't think they're going to have to change more than the ignition box.
Well, let's see how our at-home experts have ruled on Greg Biffle and whether he can go back-to-back here at Darlington. Remember, when you participate in singular virtual crew chief, you're automatically entered to win Jeff Burton's payday for the July race in Daytona. Survey says,
Well, you know, they've been following us, the saga of Greg Biffle, I guess, like we have for the most part of this year. We've seen him dominate race after race after race like he's doing tonight, but still it's just hard to knock off those wins.
Yeah, Biffle got his first top 5 of the year last week. Last year, after 10 races, he already had 3 wins. And there you see he will gain in the standings. That's his Nextel Cup point position.
Yeah.
And needs to.
And it's no lack of performance. I mean, the car is performing, and Greg's doing a great job, but they have had rotten luck.
All I know is we got 167 laps to go, which is a long way and a lot of pit stops, so a lot of things can happen in the midst of all that.
Oh, Junebug's car got a little loose off 4 right there. I've seen that several times tonight, but I think he is closing on Biffle a little bit.
Their lap times pretty close. Matt?
Well, Mike Jr. running in the 4th spot, working on a career best finish here. If he can just start working his way to the front. Now, if you're concerned about Jr. and his health, he hasn't really said much, but when Steve Meal told Dale Jr. that we were at the halfway point, Jr. said, cool. The car's still neutral, but that cool was a much relieved cool of, you can see the car is getting better. Like Darrell said, it's much easier to drive if you're sick, a car that's running well, than a car that's struggling.
Good job, man. You know, these guys' foot's bigger than their brains up here.
That's Steve Meal.
Do we have a driving shoe animation to go with that?
I don't know about that one, but how about for more on spring rubbers? Let's go down to Jeff Hammond at the Hollywood Hotel.
I'm sure he's got one tied up somewhere.
That's exactly right, Darrell. I went down to my little cutaway car, my Fusion Cutaway Car Center, brought up a spring for everybody so that you can understand. You saw the animation of taking the spring rubber out. This is what DW's been talking about. You hang a rubber, spring rubber, on the rear spring. That way when you come in, you can easily push it in. Now you've got a much stiffer rear spring, and that's exactly what these drivers are talking about. If we need to stiffen that rear spring up, do I have a piece of rubber hanging back there? This is what they're wanting you to do next time in. Tighten that car up, make that spring stiffer.
Yeah, and that rubber can vary in hardness, which will make the rate even higher. A real soft one, 15 pounds, and they get stiffer all the way up to probably 35 pounds.
Well, all I know in about 10, 15 laps, Wally Brown, crew chief for Carl Edwards, Robbie Reiser, crew chief for Matt Kenseth, they're going to have to make a decision whether they want to do something with spring rubbers, because that's about how long before green flag pit stops.
This man may have a decision to make. Bobby Labonte in the Cheerios Dodge thinks he may have a tire going soft.
Well, it looks pretty good right there. I don't see any real unusual movement out of the car.
Well, the good thing about if he feels that, we're so close to green flag pit stops. What I would do if it really feels like it, or Todd Perry, his crew chief, sees it on the stopwatch, get the pit road now. We talked about Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's got his hands full right now, Ryan Newman in that 12 car.
My guess would be on the 43 car, the tires are worn out.
Probably.
Once they get worn out, there's not much rubber left on them.
You're clear, you're clear.
This is a battle for the 4th position right here. You know, something we've not talked about is if we're getting close to green flag pit stops, this pit road can be one of the most treacherous to get on. It never fails, and it comes from veterans sometime. You have to get on the apron to get on the pit road. Very slick. We'll see cars spin out. We'll see them miss this entrance here, have to go back out on the racetrack, but this is dead in the middle of turn 4 right there.
It kind of sneaks up on you.
One more for our Darlington stripe count. That would be Dale Jr.
And that's just the ones we've been able to catch and see. 17.
Well, watch it. That 49 car just came out of the pits.
Yeah, new tires.
There's what new tires will do for you, though. It's Kevin LePage.
Pit stop soon at 207 laps. Jimmy Johnson leads Matt Kenseth by 0.4 of a second. Greg Biffle is 2 seconds off the lead. Then Junior, Ryan Newman, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards, Denny Hamlin, and Robbie Gordon. We're under caution. Once again, it's the 5th time tonight. Travis Kvapil cut down a tire in the Tide Chevrolet, the left rear. You see where the sheet metal is all rent, and some of it is sitting on the racetrack. And there it goes.
There it goes. And you see the parts start to fly. He obviously knew he had a problem because he was dropping down to the inside as if he was going to pit.
I'm going to tell you who this caution is a huge break for is Tony Stewart in that 20 car. He was just about to go a lap down.
I know. Larry and I were just looking at the 2 and the 20. Kurt Busch and Tony Stewart both were just within seconds of going a lap down.
Yeah, those two along with Casey Mears. J.J. Yaley will get the free pass and get back on the lead lap as pit road is open. Steve?
And just listening to Jimmy Johnson, Mike, he said that the car got tight off of turn 2 and he's a little bit loose on throttle when he gets back into it. They're going to make some air pressure adjustments on that number 48 Chevy of Jimmy Johnson. You see they do the windshield tear off. Dick.
On the last pit stop, Matt Kenseth said that the car was just a little bit loose. They made the slightest adjustment, and on that entire most recent run, the car was tight all the way. So another very tiny adjustment to try to fix that. To Matt.
Junior had expected to pit on lap 218. Now you saw from the in-car the rub on the wall. He says, I just hit it slightly, shouldn't be bad. Meanwhile, the 16 of Biffle, 15.6 seconds, no changes. They wanted to take a look at that right front fender. He also got into the fence.
Just watching, looked like for the most part, everyone kind of somewhat went out where they came in. You can see right there, Ryan Newman gains a spot, Greg Biffle loses one, and Kyle Busch in the 5, we've been talking about his crew, they gained one. But for the most part, everybody went out where they came in. There's the time on pit road, including the pit stop for 4 tires.
The Dodge Charger 500 on Fox is sponsored by UPS, proud sponsor of Dale Jarrett's 88 Ford.
The Dodge Charger 500 is delivered by UPS. UPS delivers the chance to manage your own free fantasy auto racing team and win 2 tickets to any Fox broadcast race. Just go to foxsports.com, keyword UPS. Getting ready to restart after the 5th caution flag tonight. Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth, Ryan Newman, Greg Biffle, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and Mark Martin, your top 10. Here we go.
Well, past halfway, we still have 25 cars on the lead lap.
That includes J.J. Yaley, who just got a free pass.
Now our top 2, Jimmy Johnson in the 48, Matt Kenseth in the 17, they clear the lap traffic, but Ryan Newman in the 12, he gets hung behind Jamie McMurray in the 26 car, who is actually 1 lap down. this 24 car here, Jeff Gordon, won here 6 times. He's been just hanging out just in the top side of the top 10. Right now, looking at Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car, who's actually running in the 5th position.
Yeah, I like what the 24's been doing, Larry. They haven't been stellar yet, but they've been hanging around, making those subtle adjustments. And he's one of those guys you won't hear a lot about here until you get down about 100 miles to go.
Larry, 140 laps, 150 laps to go. Could we do this on one more stop if we had to?
Could do it on one more stop. You know, as we drew near that last possible green flag stop, you heard all the complaints about guys on tires. You saw Kevin LePage on fresh tires, what that would do for you. So I would say that would be a little bit of a stretch on tires, but yes, you could make it on fuel.
Yeah, I don't think anybody will try that, though, because the tires are worth so much.
And all it takes is 1 or 2 coming getting fresh tires. They're beating you 2.5 seconds a lap.
Matt Kenseth trying for his first Darlington win, now in 2nd place. Jeff Hammond wants to analyze Matt's pit stop.
Mike, I've been watching the 17 crew, and you guys have also noticed this all night long. They've been very fast. The 2 previous stops were 12.6 and a 13.4. On this last stop, as they came in 2nd place, watch the right front tire changer. The tire comes off the right front, falls down in front of the car. He has to jump over that tire. That don't seem like a whole lot, but it slowed that stop down to a 14.1. Now, that's still a great stop. Don't misunderstand me, but when you're used to doing it at the sub-13s, that cost you that little bit, put you out right behind Jimmy Johnson. I believe they could have got the lead if they hadn't had that little miscue.
And Jeff, it wasn't that many years ago. If you had a 14-second pit stop on pit road with 4 tires, you could probably go from 15th to 3rd.
Back in the day, that meant you had 4 air wrenches and 4 guys changing tires with 2 jacks.
You know, we talked at the top of the show, as the racetrack cools down, gaining grip speed will come up. In fact, Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kyle Busch, a lot of those drivers in the top 10 just a couple laps ago ran the fastest lap that they have run in this race. Here comes Carl Edwards continuing to march back toward the front in this 99 car. Just went around Jeff Gordon in the 24 for 6. Steve Burns, they continue to make that car better.
Yeah, Carl Edwards likes that 99, Larry Mack. He just said for the short run, we're tight, especially on the gas, but at the end of the run, we are bad, translation good, on those old tires. It reminds me of an old track called Lakeview, the way it's slick. I like it.
Edwards is the subject of tonight's Ford Bold Move of the race. Getting past Bobby Labonte here and flashing past Tony Stewart and Kyle Busch. Edwards went as far back as 40th before climbing back now into 6th place.
But that's good information that he gave his crew chief, Wally Brown. I'm too tight on short runs, but I'm good on long runs. What will be good about that information? If we get down to the end of the race, they know they'll have to make an adjustment if it's a short run to free the car up.
Well, I wonder if they got that spring rubber socked in there, because he's looking pretty fast. And Larry, it's amazing. Standing up here, you can see that the cars are running much faster than they were earlier today.
Yes, sir. Getting that grip.
Coming off turn 2 particularly. See a lot more speed there than we saw earlier.
Let's check in on Denny Hamlin, because Hamlin's going to 12. Oops, slow down the front straightaway comes Jamie McMurray. That car, I guess it's under power, but it is not under much. McMurray's going to limp his Crown Royal Fusion around here.
See, he's about 70 miles per hour. Now, Jamie was 1 lap down at this point.
Yeah, he's coasting. Might make it around.
It's on the back pit road, Bob.
Yeah, he's pulled off the racetrack.
In fact, he's been about the only Roush car that has not been consistently up in the top 10 or 12 tonight.
So let's get back to Hamlin then, who is now down to 12th place. And Steve, I think that's about as far down the running order as he's been tonight.
Yeah, and he's surprised, Mike. I tell you, before the race, he told me that what he learned in the Busch race and winning it last night, that he was going to be really good late in a long green flag run. But he just told Mike Ford that he's been loose everywhere late in the run. On that last pit stop, they gave him 4 tires and made a track bar adjustment. And they went down a round and a half.
You know, Steve, I'm sure if he'd been complaining about his hand, you would have told us. But I am concerned. 2 hard races last week with those 19 stitches in his hand. 1 here last night, and here he is again tonight. I tell you, he looks like a guy that's got under a lot of strain to me.
But we've seen this look before, DW. Denny Hamlin, he almost never even blinks when he's driving this race car.
And he's using that, laying that arm up on the wheel you see right there to hold it, to help steer the car. And what's he saying, Steve?
Daryl, since the race has started, he hasn't said a word about his hand, but I did ask him at 5:30 this afternoon how it felt, and he said great, but that was 4 hours ago, before he'd run 220-some laps.
And I guess we need to update our fans, maybe fans that did not watch the Richmond race last week. About a week and a half ago, testing it out at Lowe's Motor Speedway in Charlotte, after the test, Denny and some of the crew members were kind of clowning around and having foot races around the tractor and trailer. He grabbed a piece of chrome to make a turn around the tractor and trailer and sliced his hand. That's how he injured it.
Jeff?
Mike, what I'm noticing right now is Denny Hamlin's loose. But if you look, also Tony Stewart and J.J. Yaley, they're back over 24th and 25th, and we've already seen Tony spin out with a loose condition. Makes me think that maybe all the Gibbs cars have got similar setups, and they're really fighting with this racetrack. While you look at Jimmy Johnson and maybe Jeff Gordon, Hendrick teammates, they're up there in the top 10 running pretty well. So it may have something to do with team cars.
But Jeff and Daryl, let's think about something. This is a big racetrack, a high-speed racetrack. Most high-speed racetracks, what do we fight with race cars?
Turning.
Not turning.
Yeah.
Well, here, maybe if they have moved the balance of their cars where they've got a lot of front downforce, they're fighting rear grip here at this racetrack.
Right now, Dale
Makes
Jr.
sense there.
Trying to hold off Carl Edwards. This is for 5th place. Stanton Barrett has taken his car to the garage area, rear end trouble. He would only be the 2nd car to fall out of this race, joining Derek Cope, who left the race after 11 laps. Everybody else still in there, and 25 cars on the lead lap. Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth, Greg Biffle, and on top of the pit boxes, Chad Knaus, Robbie Reiser, Doug Richard, the leaders of the teams for the first 3 cars.
The Dodge Charger 500 on Fox is sponsored by Visa. Go on, live life. Remember that no matter what it takes, life takes Visa. Yankees and Mets. Next week, Fox Saturday Baseball returns with interleague showdowns with crosstown rivals, the Yankees and Mets, Cubs, White Sox, Angels, Dodgers, or the Giants and A's. Fox Saturday Baseball's game of the week next week, 1 Eastern, in high definition, only on Fox. Check local listings for the game and start in your area. You know, I talked with Joe Torre recently. The Yankees have a little pool. Gene Monahan, their trainer, big NASCAR fan, and Johnny Damon is a big fan of Casey Kane, our pole sitter. He said he loves the way he drives, one of the young stars of the sport. Kane, of course, led 41 laps in this race, battling to get back in the top 10.
Yeah, right now Casey's running 12th, and I think he's still got himself in pretty good position right now. If they can make a few more adjustments and keep up with the racetrack. And right now, the main thing is we take a look at our leader, Jimmy Johnson, who is not only a leader of the race, but also a point leader. What about Tony Stewart? He started to fall back through the field. He spun out earlier, but they made some adjustments. The car's still not like it needs to be. He passed Casey Mears a few laps ago, but now Casey's right back on him again. He gets a little bit loose off of turn 4 right there. He's making a move underneath Tony.
And there he goes in front. Tony Stewart currently 24th. Mike?
Here's the problem for Stewart. He is only 8 seconds from going a lap down to Jimmy Johnson.
And he's driving like it too. He's had that car every way but loose. He's had her sideways, and Casey Mears and he are grabbing at it now. I'm thinking that Casey might want to let him by.
And you saw the points right there. Remember, Stewart comes in here second to points, so he would fall back to third.
Tony's getting a little irritated with Casey here.
A little bit of the chrome horn here.
Well, when the leader's coming,
beep, beep.
But remember, Casey Mears in the 42, he's still on the lead lap too, so he's fighting for survival.
No, they're
here.
both trying to hang on to the lead lap, but the leader's coming, and Tony says, dude, I got to go.
I'll tell you, the biggest fans are in this whole crew, our cameramen. I'll tell you, great tight shots. And they love it when they get cars up close and personal like that.
Well, what I love is when they hit the button over here and you say, did y'all get that? And they say, yeah, we got it.
We'll show it to you, 2 or 3 angles.
Yeah.
Great job,
Got
fellas.
a little battle brewing here for 4th. Ryan Newman in the 12 looks like he's just going to pull down possibly and let Dale Earnhardt Jr. Well, he's not, though, but this is a battle right now for 4th. You see Carl Edwards in the 99. He just keeps moving forward with his 99 car.
Steve?
And Mike, his crew chief Wally Brown and spotter Bobby Hudson have been keeping Carl, trying to keep him patient. Remember, he started 7th, dropped all the way to 40th, said his car was undrivable. Now he's in the 6th position. Here's what they've been telling Carl, still a long way to go.
Patient, they will come to you. Don't use it up, bud. They're coming right for you, coming back to you. Don't abuse it, bud. Patience, we will get them on the long run, Carl. You'll get every one of them, buddy. Patience, keep it under you. Smooth.
And that's Bobby Hudson, Carl Edwards is spotter. And the crew chief, the spotter, besides making decisions on adjustments, as I talked earlier, there's no strategy here as far as pit stops. You change 4 tires every time the yellow flag driver. Convince him, I know you're sliding, but you're sliding a little less than everyone else.
Look, the driver's going to say, my car's not very good. But guess what? You're better than everybody else, and that's all that matters.
When we last saw Jamie McMurray, he was coasting to a stop in the backstretch pits. He has finally made his way back to the garage with Dick Burton.
And they're in no hurry to try to work on this car. The belt broke. What's the belt for?
Well, the belt operates a oil pump, and just one of those deals. I don't know what happened. It just broke. I saw the oil pressure light come on, and then the motor tried to lock up, so I put it in neutral. We had a good car at the beginning of the race, and we over-adjusted and got it really tight, and then never really could get it back. Once you get back in traffic, I struggled to get by guys. So frustrating day and frustrating season.
Indeed, the engines don't run without oil pressure. Now let me tell you what can happen to that belt. You saw Kevin Harvick have the problem with his radiator. We've talked about all these big chunks and clunks of rubber. That can break an oil pump belt here at this place very easily.
Yeah, they're clog belts. They got teeth. It's a rubber belt that runs the oil pump on the front of the engine. You pick up a piece of debris, it hangs up in that in those pulleys, and it just blows that belt right off of there.
Just stretches it and just snaps it sometimes. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car in the 4th position. Matt, about 4.5 seconds behind our leader, Jimmy Johnson.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. was just advised by his spotter, Steve Meal, they're going to run about another 40 laps on this run. Now, that's what Jr. had asked earlier after he bounced off the wall because they were so close to his run. He said, I didn't know we were only 7 or 8 laps from pitting, so keep me abreast of where we are in our run. I hate to hit stuff, and I definitely don't like hitting stuff here.
And Darrell, I got to believe that's important information to give that driver. You're 20 laps into this run. You're 40 laps into this run. You're 15 laps away from a pit stop.
Oh man, that's stuff you love to hear. It gives you a goal. It gives you something to work toward. Your next pit stop is coming, and you kind of almost count the laps mentally in your head.
Caution, turn 1.
Oh my
Big
God.
slide for Sadler.
We can get it going, get it going.
And that was just what Casey Mears, Bobby Labonte, Joe Nemechek, and Tony Stewart needed, because they were all within about 4 seconds of being lapped by Jimmy Johnson.
That's the 2nd caution in a row. It's what Tony Stewart needed because, yeah, that's twice he's about been lapped.
Larry, I don't know. I think they're probably about out of adjustments on that 20 car. They've done everything they know to do to it, I think. They can help it for the few laps, but they can't keep it under him all night for the long run.
And this will put Kyle Petty back on the lead lap. He will get the free pass. It is the 6th caution flag of the night.
And we know that Sadler, Elliott Sadler in the 38, he's had his hands full. He was a lap down out of the top 25.
And that just shows you how little grip there is in the racetrack. That car looked like it almost picked up speed, even with the tires locked up.
One there, caution.
Now we're talking about oil drive belts. Jeff Hammond.
Mike, they were talking about on Jamie McMurray's car, this is the oil pump. This is the drive belt that works off the front crankshaft. That's what pumps the oil through the engine. When this belt breaks, you lose oil pressure. When you do that, the engine can't be ran any longer. And what might have happened here at Darlington, all these pieces of rubber could get built up, get caught up in these cog belts, or even some of these stones. This is one thing a lot of times you have to worry about, is all the debris that comes off of this racetrack could get captured in between this cog belt and the belt and could easily knock it off. And there goes your engine. Mike?
Thanks, Jeff.
Good explanation.
Yep.
I mean, that tells the tale right there.
Man, it's got some stuff, hasn't it?
He's got a bunch of stuff there.
Rubber and rocks, and clog belts.
Pit road's going to be busy.
Pit road is going to be clogged. Steve?
And Mike, Jimmy Johnson told Chad Canals he's a little loose through 1 and 2. He needs more forward bite off of turn 4. So the adjustment on that 48 car, they're going to take a ½ pound of air out of the right rear tire. They've already done that. You see them making the stop now to the left side of the number 48 car. Nick.
All during that last run, Matt Kenseth and his crew chief, Robbie Reiser, discussed what they should do on this pit stop. The car has consistently been tight on the last 2 runs. Matt, the 48 beat him.
And there's the 16, Greg Biffle, led the most laps so far tonight. Work already completed. On the left side, he's down and away. Air pressure taken out of both rear tires to help with forward grip.
I believe the Killer Bees got beat that time on pit road. See right there, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car, as well as Greg Biffle, the Doug Richard group. Looks like they beat Matt Kenseth off pit road. Casey Kane right there, he gains 4 spots.
Well, he needed that.
So with 118 laps to go, it's a whole new race in Darlington.
The Dodge Charger 500 on Fox, sponsored by DLP Picture Technology from Texas Instruments. By Yamaha Star Motorcycles, we build it, you make it your own. By Mountain Dew Code Red, do a kick a cherry, do the do. And by Principal Financial Group, will give you an edge.
And Mama said there'd be nights like this, as Jimmy Johnson leads Greg Biffle, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt Kenseth, and Jeff Gordon for this restart. Happy Mother's Day, Mom, and to the mothers of all our kids.
Yeah, you know what? My mom gets a double bonus this weekend. Tomorrow is her birthday, as well as Mother's Day, May the 14th.
And you know what? Today is my wife Linda's birthday, May the 13th, and of course Mother's Day tomorrow for her.
Well, happy birthday and happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, Gay, and to all the moms out there.
Yes, sir. Stevie,
we're thinking of you.
36 years, baby. It's been good.
Green flag. And Johnson and Biffle take off.
Earnhardt Jr. really didn't get that great of a restart. I tell you what, he's got a pretty good race car sitting up there in the 3rd position in an 8 car.
Oh, here comes Kenseth. Did he get a run down the back straightaway? Pokes the nose inside. Going to clear Dave Blaney by turn 3.
And those sparks pretty much tell the tale. They're getting faster and quicker as the night goes on.
Yeah, no air pressure is low right now. That thing has got, if it's going to have any grip, it better have it right now.
Hamlin and Mayfield right here. This is for 15th.
Yeah, Jeremy is having a silent, quietly working his way toward the front, having a darn good run, and right behind him is Kenny Schrader, who's having a great run.
Schrader in the Air Force 21.
Or right in front of him.
In front of that group, right? Yaley behind.
Yeah, Schrader has not had a top 10 since finishing 9th in the Daytona 500 in February. Jeremy Mayfield, he has no top 10 finish in 2006.
Jeff Burton on the move, the singular Chevy, past Ryan Newman.
And you just had to know that the ability that Jeff Burton has always had to get around this place, with the way Richard Childress Racing has stepped its whole program up, that he would be a factor tonight.
Burton, a 2-time winner here. As on the left of your screen, Biffle draws a bead on Jimmy Johnson. Now, Biffle has led 84 laps tonight. That's the most of any driver. He also led the most laps at California, Atlanta, and Phoenix, but in those 3 races had no finish better than 15th.
Hey, you just saw Burton go by his teammate Clint Boyer. Clint Boyer had a good car in the early part of the race. Right now he's a lap down. They had a mistake on the pit stop where the tire rolled across pit road, and he ended up going to the rear of the field.
That 99 car, Larry, just gets closer and closer to the front all the time.
9th place, so that pushes pole sitter Casey Kane back to 10th, Matt.
The big question Kane has, Mike, though, he says, why were we so good earlier in the race and now we're struggling a little bit? Even though he's having a solid run in the top 10, they regrouped, went back on some adjustments, but he just came back on the radio and says, we are tight again, guys. To Steve.
Hey, Matt, interesting radio communication between Carl Edwards and Wally Brown. Wally said, Carl, give me a lap around this place. So Carl keyed the mic and said, all right, here we go. Initial turn, we're good. We're good on the throttle. It won't turn off turn 2. Up on the top, it won't turn in 3 and 4. We're good. Good on the straightaway. So he did an entire lap while keying the mic.
Onboard commentary.
That's pretty impressive at Darlington, where it takes 3 hands to get around here.
Let me tell you what else is pretty impressive. We've got just a little over 100 laps to go. We've been talking about our rookies all night long. Right now, we've got 5 rookies in the top 20. We've got Denny Hamlin right here, who ran in the top 5 a lot. He's sitting there in 15th. And just right behind him, you see Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car. He just went by Mayfield for 16th. And then behind Jeremy Mayfield, you've got 2 of the Ganassi teammates, 2 of the Ganassi rookies, Stremme and Sorensen. And then right behind Sorensen in the 18 car, you've got J.J. Yaley. So, and I feel like Clint Boyer would still be on the lead lap had he not had that pit stop problem. So 5 rookies in the top 20 here at Darlington with less than 100 laps to go.
Well, we started with 3 rookies in the top 5, and it has proven not to be a problem. Now, Robbie Gordon had a good run going, but Carl Edwards just took advantage of him. And now Casey Kane may get him as well. What's up, Dick?
Well, he's got the car seems to be tight right at the beginning of a run, Mike. But by and large, Robbie Gordon has had a very good night. His best finish all year long is 10th right now. He is running in the 9th position. But the thing that's most impressive about him is Gordon has a reputation as being impulsive. And impulsive here will get you into the wall. What he's instead of doing, instead of being impulsive, is trying to save his tires, being cool, being smart. And so far, so good. Robbie Gordon done one of the best runs he's had all year long. Inside the top 10, doing great.
See, that's where a driver has to have a crew chief that he will listen to, and a spotter that he will trust. He's got to listen to what they're telling him. He's got to believe what they're telling him, and then he's got to do what they're telling him.
Go back to the audio a while ago with Bobby Hudson, who has been in this sport for 30 years, talking to his driver, Carl Edwards.
Kurt Busch has been up and down. That car had fallen well back in the last green flag run, but now in the Roger Penske Miller Lite 2, he's holding his own at 13th place.
Yeah, that car, I don't know, kind of, it's interesting to me. It runs up front early in the race, then they fall back through the field, and every now and then they get her fixed up for the end. But he's 13th here, got a little work to do.
And Darrell, we were talking about how unique this place is, kind of a one of a kind. NASCAR would not allow the teams to test here. Roy McCauley, Kurt Busch, they decided to go to a similar racetrack we don't race it anymore to test. They went to Rockingham a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's surface-wise, they're almost identical. Rockingham will chew a set of tires up in 15, 20 laps, just like this joint will.
What's impressive about Busch, he restarted 21st in this green flag run, and he has climbed up to 13th. Your leader by 0.3 of a second, Jimmy Johnson.
Stick around and see who captures the checkered flag.
99 laps to go here in Darlington. Nice to have you for NASCAR on Fox at a Visa race break. And they talk about this track being famous for drivers scraping the wall. Jeff Hammond leaving the black stripe, nicknamed the Lady in Black. Some close calls today and when the sun set tonight.
Yeah, definitely so. Right there we see the 99 car, the 49 right there, Kevin LePage. He gets him a stripe. Denny Hamlin, the rookie, and the number 11, he gets him one early on.
That's Dale Earnhardt Jr.
That's Reed Sorensen out there in the 41 car, followed by Dale Jarrett. He goes up there and kisses the wall very lightly, politely. Here's Dale Hart Jr. right behind Clint Boyer in 07. He gets a 1. Also, later on, Dale Jr. also gets up an outside retaining wall and gets him a Darlington stripe.
Even our camera has had a scrape with the wall.
Whoa.
And the count so far, and that includes the camera lens, 20 so far. Jimmy Johnson had the lead moments ago. Greg Biffle back in front.
Greg Biffle right now charging hard right there. Gets on the inside of Jimmy. Jimmy knows he's there. Just as they get in the corner, he rolls out of it. Biffle takes the lead.
72 laps led for Jimmy Johnson. It's 87 for Greg Biffle, your current leader. And this has been a Visa race break. No matter what it takes, life takes Visa. So it's Biffle, Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth. And how about Jeff Gordon, who is a 6-time winner of this event? It was last year at this time when he took a tumble in the point standings after this race.
Last year at this time, this team right here really did a nosedive. But so far tonight, they've been building, just been working on this car and getting everything put back like it needs to. He's been climbing up a ladder. Now he finds himself in 4th position with his teammate Jimmy Johnson just 2 positions ahead of him. So these team cars maybe are sharing information because Gordon has definitely gotten better as the night's gotten longer.
And of course, Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to win back-to-back races for the first time in his Cup career. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Yeah, don't forget Jeff Gordon was second here last May. 20 Darlington stripes by our unofficial punch stat count. Sorry, I can't say that. It's copyrighted. 26 cars in the lead lap. 6 cautions for 24 laps. Tony Stewart not in such great shape here, and Kevin Harvick. So 2 of the contenders for the Cup having troubles. Harvick major, Stewart minor.
And we don't want the boys up at RCR, their engine department, getting too nervous there. It actually was not an engine problem. It was a radiator problem in Harvick's car.
Right. Had that piece of debris, a big piece of asphalt go into the radiator.
Let's take a lap
Burton,
with
let's see how his car looks like it's running really good right now. He's in 6th place. Handling well. Let's listen to the throttle here as he picks it up down here in the middle of turn 3 and 4. Hear him playing with it. Mats it right there by the start-finish line. Back out of there a little early. Not a lot of break in turn 1 a little bit. Let it go to the top. Ease her right through the center. Back off, get her turned, get her headed in the right direction. Gas her up. Whoa, baby, now that's what you got to watch out for off turn 2. Down into 3, and a lot of brake getting into 3. All the way to the top, scrub, scrape. Off of 4.
There is no other racetrack in the world like this one. I don't think. She is one of a kind.
You don't want to duplicate it, but we don't want to lose it either.
You got it. You couldn't duplicate it, I don't think.
I don't think you could either. I think that Chris and these guys here, Browning, they got the right idea. Let's fix her up. Let's dress her up.
Things may have settled in here for just a bit, or maybe till the next and final pit stop, as Jimmy Johnson sits 1 second behind Greg Biffle. Let's go to the Lowe's pit. Here's Steve.
Mike, very short comment by Jimmy Johnson just a lap ago. He said, I need more grip off of turns 2 and 4, more forward bite. Dick.
Matt Kenseth has keyed his radio and told the crew that his car is better. It's still tight, but it's 50% better than it was before the last pit stop. To Matt.
Dale Jr. running in the 5th position. Solid run, but the car just, like many runs tonight, just way too tight on the first 20 laps. It does start to go a little more to the neutral side, looking ahead to the final stop of what air pressure adjustments to make. Also, you were talking about the 31 of Jeff Burton, the 2-time winner. The car has started off tighter on this run than it has all night long, and he is having a great performance tonight. 159th race is his last win. He's won here twice. Maybe tonight is the night he breaks back into victory lane as he takes that spot.
5th place now for Burton.
Well, there's a lot of decisions to be made on pit road because, as Matt mentioned, possibly the final pit stop coming up in about 30 to 40 laps should we stay green. So this is when you've got to get it right, no mistakes, and give that driver the right adjustments.
Earlier, Carl Edwards wanted a big change on his car. What's the radio traffic now on the 99?
That was a bad lap with traffic, guys. Just count it. It's about positive reinforcement, Wally. Oh, sorry. I was just putting in time. I hear you. I'm just kidding. I want to hear the bad ones, too.
And he was talking to his crew chief, Wally Brown, who is now, I think, with about his 4th race with Carl Edwards. Of course, Bob Osborne now over with Jamie McMurray. I think Carl just joking with him a little bit. You know, yeah, I don't want to hear the bad laps. But, yeah, you got to tell him also.
I tell you, a guy that just keeps marching. He's nibbling away. Not too far behind our leaders right here, coming off turn 4 right there. If I look back and I saw that big DuPont sign coming after me, I'd be worried. It's a man that knows how to win this race. It's a thinking man's race. He's been doing a really well of a job all night long. Jeff Gordon in that 24 car.
4th spot right now.
4th spot and 2.5 tenths of a second faster than Matt Kenseth. Crossover move by Casey Kane.
Battle for 13th here between Casey Kane in the 9, Denny Hamlin in the 11.
Both those cars have really fallen off the latter part of the race here, the second half of the race. Neither one of them good as they were in the beginning. I'm not sure some of it's not from damage from scrubbing the wall, because the 11's been in the wall pretty hard a couple of times.
Greg Biffle has led 100 laps. There are 86 to go.
You can't fear anyone or any track.
The Dodge Charger 500 on Fox is sponsored by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. By Edge Active. Great shave, healthy skin. By the new side sampler from Pizza Hut. Go for the good stuff. And by AOL. Want a better high-speed internet? You belong at AOL.
$80 laps to go at Darlington. Next race you go to, Nextel Fan View, available for rent to help enhance your experience. Listen into the teams, listen to NASCAR on Fox, get onboard cam reviews and updated statistics right there. To learn more, go to foxsports.com/NextelFanView. There's a full field leaderboard right there. Cool.
I mean, that is so cool right there, because so many years all the fans knew that was at the racetrack whatever the scoreboard told them, and that was it.
Point standings as of now. Tony Stewart would drop to 3rd and Kenseth would climb to 2nd. Jeff Gordon has moved to 3rd. He passed Matt Kenseth, and here's Martin Truex passing Casey Kane as Kane continues to drop spots. The pole sitter falls to 16th. Was passed by Reed Sorensen and now Truex within the last lap or so. Ahead of them, Kenny Schrader 13th. Good run for Schrader.
Yeah, Schrader's having a great night, and he just keeps closing up. He's not too far behind Kurt Busch there in the 2 car, so that's another spot he can gain here. Talked to Leonard Wood today. It's so good to see guys. Leonard Wood, David Pearson come to Darlington. Now, it doesn't get any better than that.
David Pearson, 10 wins here, like Mike mentioned at the top of the show.
Get a hamburger steak out here at Speedway Grill. Huh? What's that tell you?
Life is good. Jeff Gordon was the fastest car on the racetrack a couple laps ago, Matt. He's in 3rd and closing on his teammate.
Coming off his worst finish, Gordon, of 2006, a 40th last week at Richmond. Now, he says the car is really starting to get loose on exit, but that's when Steve Letarte said, just keep what you're doing, keep your pace, because we are continuing to mow him down, currently in the 3rd spot. He says they look to make, if it all goes green from here on out, their final stop at lap 323.
Thanks, Matt. A second Roush Ford has fallen victim to oil pump drive belt failure. Dick?
And Carl Edwards is standing with me on pit road. Why 2 oil pump failure or drive belt failures in the Roush cars? What's going on?
I don't know. They do a great job building the engines, and my crew did a great job. Got to thank Office Depot. Heck, man, I love this racetrack, and I hate to be behind pit wall, but we're going to head up to Omaha, Nebraska, watch my brother race tomorrow night. I got to say, get well to Gene Beach, and hopefully Biffle wins this thing. He deserves it.
Got to tell you one more thing about Carl Edwards before he disappears. He got out of that car, and with all the disappointment, he patted every crew member on the back and said thank you. That's what a real racer does.
I like Carl Edwards. He's a cool cat. I like him a lot.
3 of the 5 ships in the Roush Armada, still running in the top 10.
And just to update, Jamie McMurray, who is out of the race, had the same thing happen. These cars have an external oil pump that's on the front of the engine. It's driven by a belt off the crankshaft, and we've talked about all the rubber and debris that flies around here. A lot of times that stuff will get in that belt, make the belt so tight it just snaps. I know here, Rockingham, Martinsville, a lot of places, Darrell, we used to run actually a little screen guard around that oil pump belt.
Yeah, this shaker screen in front of the radiator, and then we'd run another piece of screen underneath the radiator back to the cross member to keep any debris from coming up around the engine.
Biffle lapping Sterling Marlin in the 14 for the second time tonight. Marlin got a top 10 finish last week at Richmond. And here is Tony Stewart, who is once again about 7 seconds from going a lap down. He just passed Kyle Petty to hold on to 17th. We're going to make Stewart our Allstate Good Hands driver. On behalf of Tony, Allstate will donate a $1,000 scholarship to the Urban Youth Racing School. Allstate, official insurance sponsor of NASCAR, would appreciate that Stewart did a perfect 360, got his hands at 9 and 3, grabbed the gear, and went on.
Just like in the movies.
Matt?
If you look at Stewart's racing resume, Mike, his first career top 10 came right here at Darlington the spring of '99. But he will tell you, this is one of those racetracks where he's never been able to have one of those top 5 cars every single race, more of a 6th to a 12th place car. He says the forward bite now is 100% better, but they are still struggling here tonight at Darlington.
You know, it almost sounds like, Larry, to me on that car, they got a nose weight issue. Like they burn that fuel off of the back of the car and it transfers weight to the front of the car and the car starts to respond.
Yeah, because when you have that weight in the rear, that makes the car won't loose. And what lack of forward bite means, when Tony pushes the throttle down, the rear wheels want to spin.
Craig Biffle leading Jimmy Johnson by almost 1 second now, and Jeff Gordon closing in.
Slamming, rubber squealing, gears are jamming, local country station just a blaring on the radio. Pick him up at 7 and they're heading to the rodeo. Going down till the sun comes up. They ain't giving in till they get enough. Go around the world in a pickup truck. Ain't going down till the sun comes up.
Full moon Saturday night as the cloud cover lifts in Darlington, South Carolina. And who grows fangs? How about Jimmy Johnson taking the lead from Greg Biffle, and Jeff Gordon following him through, putting the 2 Hendrick Chevys out front with 63 laps to go. And now Biffle has fallen to his Roush Ford teammate Matt Kenseth. Meanwhile, Jeremy Mayfield, trouble on the right front. Suspension problem for Mayfield.
Boy, I tell you what, Travis Quapple in that 32
He did a whale of a job.
Heads up right there.
That was Dodge, D-O-G-E ball.
And with Jimmy Johnson in the 48 lead, and you see his teammate Jeff Gordon in the 24 in second. Now Matt Kenseth has moved around his teammate Greg Biffle to take over third. We are about 10 to 15 laps away from the final pit stop, but this is what will happen if any of these leaders hit pit road anytime over the next few laps, because you can make it to the end from here. You can't be far behind them, because as we mentioned earlier, fresh tires, over 60 lap tires, 2.5 seconds quicker per lap.
Biffle looks like he needs those tires now, Larry. That car is backing up like it's got an anchor attached to it.
And it's almost like playing poker. You want to get those fresh tires as soon as you can, but at the same time, Jeff Hammond, you don't want to hit pit road and a caution come out and you'll be a lap down because of pitting under green.
That's what I'm worried about.
We've seen that several times this year, especially with Robbie Gordon. He hits pit road, caution comes out, here at Darlington, you don't want to be caught on pit road. But like you're saying, Larry, if you could get to pit road and be the first guy there, probably you'd wind up having the lead by the time everything's cycled through.
And I would say cars that we'll see come to pit road pretty quick is we've got Jeff Gordon in the 24 car trying to take that lead away from his teammate, Jimmy Johnson.
Boy, if I was Rick Hendrick, I'd be holding my breath.
I'm surprised it's this much of a struggle for Gordon to get the lead from Johnson. Earlier, the Roush teammates swapped the lead back and forth with little drama so that each could get 5 bonus points for leading a lap. But Darrell, it didn't look like Jimmy wanted to give that lead up.
No, I think Jimmy knows that if Jeff is that good and he caught him, he's in trouble. Because Jeff Gordon, he's going to race him back. Maybe that was a 5-point deal right there because Jeff hadn't led.
But while they've been doing it, there's Matt Kenseth in the 17 car. He's moved back into the picture. But just remember, within the next few laps, all these cars will be on pit road for a pit stop.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth kind of says, hey, you boys going up there and play if you want to. I'm serious. I'm coming to win this race.
Well, Jeff Gordon has only led 70 laps this year in 5 races, and 62 of those laps were at Talladega.
Jeff has led a total of over 1,500 laps here in his career, 7th all time. How about our pole sitter Casey Kane? 17th place, and he's about 7 seconds from losing a lap to Jimmy Johnson.
I guess the string will be broken for him tonight. 3 wins from a pole, and doesn't look like that's going to happen tonight.
Yeah, we've got a lot of cars that would love to see a caution. They're about to go a lap down. Like you mentioned, Casey Kane, Kyle Petty, J.J. Yaley, Casey Mears, Joe Nemechek, just in front of our leader, Jimmy Johnson, right now.
Jimmy Johnson won 4 races last year. He's already won 3 in 2006, Daytona, Las Vegas, Talladega.
Boy, I tell you, interesting race to me tonight, though. How all these guys have worked so well together all night long. And there you go, Jeff Gordon back around his teammate. But just like that, I know they're teammates, but all night long we've seen so much give and take.
Look at this wad of cars right in front of them. That's 3 of the cars I just mentioned. Nemechek, Mears, and Yaley fighting to try to stay on the lead lap right here.
Last time they got in this position, a caution saved them when Elliott Sadler spun.
Man, I tell you right now, this is ingredients for some disaster right here on old tires.
Now Kenseth went around Jimmy Johnson in the 48. He takes over the 2nd spot. 55 laps to go.
And David Stremme.
Yeah, he's
going to come to pit road.
He had an engine problem off of turn 4, and he's coming around this time to come to pit road.
To complicate matters among the leaders, here comes Kevin LePage flying into the picture. Now LePage is 13 laps down, but he's got new tires.
Yeah, well, he's been off sequence with these other guys, and he'll get those tires and blow by a bunch of them every now and then.
He's at the top of your screen on that Freightliner 49.
But it shows you what tires will do for anybody.
And Darrell, I'd say with a lot of those leaders seeing that, they're questioning the crew chief, when are you going to give me tires? When do we pit?
Yeah. There comes some guys, I think, on pit road here now, Larry. It looks like the 2 car.
Lap Dave Blaney, and Blaney is 3 laps down. Stremme, who is 2 laps down, and Kevin Harvick 17 laps down. That's who's on pit road.
Clint Boyer in the 07 car. Here comes Kurt Busch in the 2 car. Once some of these cars start hitting pit road, that's when you'll see all the rest of them follow.
Look at all the right side tires, though. You can tell all of them have been rubbed up against the wall.
Now Kurt Busch is the first of our lead lap cars to pit.
Greg Biffle in the 16 car. He's hitting pit road. We talked about he was really waiting on this pit stop.
Now Kurt Busch's last lap on track was a 34 flat. Biffle's last lap was a 34.2. We'll take a look and see what they can do with new tires. J.J. Yaley, who just went a lap down, also pitting, and so is Bobby Labonte. 45 miles an hour is pretty slow on pit road. Reed Sorensen also in the pits. Matt?
Mike Doug Richard, Biffle's crew chief, asked him, what can I get you to help that race car on possibly this final run? He said, I just need fresh tires. The car was good, but it really lost the grip near the end. As you see, the 24, Jeff Gordon is in. Now Gordon, 6-time winner here, going for number 7, Dick. What about the 17 of Kenseth?
17 of Kenseth is in, and this is the first time that he has pitted with the nose pointed toward the wall. Steve.
4 tires for Jimmy Johnson. He had gotten very loose. He wanted more forward bite, Dick.
Kenseth's pit stop still underway. He has a net gain of 5 spots so far. Nat.
The 24, you can see they're going to try to pull a tear off the windshield, give him some better visibility. Gordon's car was really loose on that run, Dick.
48 car almost had an accident here on pit road, just managed to duck to the right of the 21 and Schrader. I mean, it was within inches.
And that's going to be very costly, Dick Bergman. He almost had to come to a complete stop as Kenny Schrader in the 21 was turning into his pits. Almost near disaster, as you pointed out, Dick.
Cost him a lot of time on getting out of the pits there. He's way back behind the leaders now. Here comes Jeff Gordon and Matt Kenseth up to speed.
Nemechek pits, so does Riggs, and here's Ryan Newman on pit road, Matt.
Back bar adjustment completed for Newman. Now he was near the end of his leader's cycle, but most of the guys like Biffle pitted a little earlier than what they're originally thinking, just because the tires were wearing out so much quicker near the end of this run.
Tony Raines was in, Denny Hamlin, Scott Riggs, and Yaley comes back in for a check of the left front. Robbie Gordon comes in, gives up second place. Kyle Busch is your new leader, and now he's on pit road as well. So this should about cycle us through lead lap cars. Now remember Biffle, he was running 34.20 before he pitted. His last lap, 31 flat, 3 seconds faster on new tires.
And because he was the very first lead lap car besides Kurt Busch to hit pit road, it cycled out that he will be the leader after Robbie Gordon and Kyle Busch make their pit stops.
49 laps to go in Darlington, South Carolina, in the Dodge Charger 500 on Fox. After green flag pit stops, Biffle and Kenseth out in front of Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. Now Jimmy Johnson makes his stop. You'll see Ken Schrader coming into picture here as Johnson pulls away. Here comes Schrader, and Schrader's got to get into his pit. He's just in front of Johnson.
There's Schrader in the 21 pulling and trying to get into his pits right there.
So Johnson had to hit the brake, and the crew not happy.
And remember, this was green flag stop, so he went from being right up there in the lead pack with those guys to he's almost 5 seconds behind.
Now here's Jeff Gordon's stop.
They like what they see there.
But the big winner is the man who's led the most laps tonight, 129 of them so far. Greg Biffle. Jimmy Johnson, after something that was not Kenny Schrader's fault. Schrader came in, he was ahead of Jimmy before Jimmy pulled out of his pit. So Kenny's got to slow down and pull in. Jimmy's got to wait and go around. And Johnson is now 5 seconds behind Greg Biffle.
Nobody's fault on that.
No.
Just one of those deals.
One of them racing deals.
But still, Steve, it's got to be a little frustrating.
Mike, it was very frustrating when he was on pit road. Now, just a second ago, crew chief Chad Canal said to Jimmy, hey, you okay? What's going on, bud? Jimmy just said very simply, I need forward bite. Chad said, save your tires for the end.
Well, all I know is our top 3 or 4 cars, Biffle, Kenseth, Gordon, and Johnson, right now with 39 laps to go, pretty equal on the stopwatch.
That's not me saving anything right now, because by the time you have your saved up tires, they'll be so far away from you, you can't catch them. You got to go like crazy, right? You got to go as hard as you can.
You almost believe now Jimmy Johnson, what he needs is an equalizer, and that would be a caution lap.
Terry Labonte in his final Darlington appearance pulls down to the inside. Been a tough day for the two-time champ.
Next weekend, NASCAR moves to Charlotte. Our coverage begins on Friday on Speed. The Craftsman Truck Series race on Speed Saturday begins with the Nextel Open on FX, followed by the Nextel All-Star Challenge. Mark Martin, your big winner last year. The Fox family of networks, it's where you gather for racing every weekend. Jeff Gordon, who's currently running third in this race, will be our guest in the Hollywood Hotel. Greg Biffle leading. It looks like you got the Roush teammates 1-2, and then the Hendrick teammates 3-4.
Well, you see, like you're pointing out, a lot of team cars up there in the top 3 or 4. Also in the top 10, Roush and Hendrick cars running extremely good here tonight. As you watch right now, Greg Biffle go around Terry Labonte one more time, our leader. And Greg, I mean, again, he knows how to win at this racetrack. So right here in the closing laps, we've got 31 laps to go. He is really up on that wheel, driving as hard as he can, because he knows his teammate, Matt Kenseth, is going to put pressure on him if he gets a chance.
Biffle, of course, won this race last year. He's led the most laps, but in the last 4 races that he's led the most laps, he has not won. He's finished 2nd, 42nd, 16th, and 15th.
Well, tonight we've been talking about it, and I think Carl Edwards kind of summed it up. He's run good enough this year to win several races, and his teammate said, I hope he can close the deal tonight.
Meanwhile, if you're Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car, you're hoping for the number 48. He won the 48th running of the Daytona 500. This is the 48th spring race being run here at Darlington.
Johnson 6 seconds back. Jeff Gordon 2.5 off the lead. Matt Kenseth 1.2 behind Greg Biffle, who has now led 140 laps tonight. And right behind Biffle, Terry Labonte in his final Darlington start. This track has meant so much to the 2-time Nextel Cup champion. He started his first Cup race here, driving for Texas Oilman Billy Hagan in the Stratograph car. He won his first Cup race here, the Southern 500, one of the toughest of all races to win. And then he won the last Labor Day Southern 500 at Darlington. American Idol Bucky Covington, his brother Rocky and his buddies. Now you got to look at their pit passes. Their pit pass holders, that's a piece of history right there, because it's from where he's from, the Rock. Rockingham, North Carolina.
Yeah, they came over to coach. You were there, Mike, and hung out for a little while. They're cool guys. Yeah, having a good time at the races, boys.
He's got a full schedule. They're going on tour, but he said it had been too long since he'd been to a race. He wanted to come to Darlington.
See, Greg Biffle, our leader, just about to put Kurt Busch in the 2 car up there a lap down. Kurt's the last car on the lead lap right now in 16th.
But Larry, I once again, as they run a few laps here, that 24 car, all of a sudden, he starts inching back toward the Matt Kenseth and Greg Biffle. He's closing up on them here at about a 10th or 2 a lap, just like he did earlier.
This is a battle for 6th right here between Ryan Newman and the 12, Kyle Busch in the 5. Kyle Busch just continues to click off those top 10 finishes.
Jeff Gordon right now is the fastest car on the racetrack. He is 1.8 seconds behind leader Greg Biffle.
When he comes out of the pit and on restarts particularly, he's a little bit slower than the other guys, but as they get into the run, the more they run, the faster he gets, and those guys back up to him.
If we stay green, bet on Gordon to be right there at the finish.
Right now, he's definitely faster than Greg Biffle and Matt Kenseth up there running 1 and 2 with 25 laps to go. Let's update you on Tony Stewart, his night. Remember, he started in the 13th position when they dropped the green flag in the 20 car. Looked like he was going to march to the front. Car got loose. Car is not handled like he has wanted it to. Right now, he's hanging on the lead lap in 13th, about 5 seconds from being lapped. I will guarantee you, if they come out of here with a top 15 finish tonight, with the weekend they've had, they'll probably feel pretty good about it.
I guarantee you, spun out and everything else, and here he is. You know, he's not done yet.
No, he's going to lose a spot in the Nextel Cup standings to Matt Kenseth.
Martin Truex is just ahead of him, and Martin's running 12th. Not too far ahead of him is Reed Sorensen, so he's got some cars he could pass.
Coming up next on Fox, Mad TV or your late local news, which in some markets may be the same thing.
Jeff Gordon has got one of those kind of race cars you like to have at Darlington. The longer you run, the better it gets. The longer the other guys run, the worse they get.
He's just going to drive by Matt Kenseth in the 17 car. He takes his second position away. Now there's 23 laps to go, and right now he's about 1.5 seconds behind leader Greg Biffle, and Greg Biffle is catching a lot of lap cars.
23 laps to go in the Dodge Charger 500 on Fox. We're inside of 20 laps to go at Darlington, South Carolina. Greg Biffle trying to turn his season around. Look at the woes that Biffle has had. His best finish 4th at Richmond last Saturday night.
In so many of those races, I mean, I go back to California. There was nobody going to beat him there. It was his race to lose.
Yep, he's been in a league of his own a number of times.
By this time last year, he had 3 wins. Now at second place, Jeff Gordon has closed to within 1.7 seconds, and his laps are about 3 or 4 tenths of a second quicker than Biffle's. He's got time to make up the distance.
Oh, Jeff's got him an interesting looking setup for here, doesn't he, Larry? He just flies that nose down the straightaway. Look how high that thing is going down the straightaway. Normally, the car would have a much different attitude.
We see a lot of cars up in the nose, but yeah, the 24 car is definitely up higher on the straightaways than most cars.
Matt Kenseth is third, 2.3 seconds back. There's Kenseth. And Jimmy Johnson fourth and fading a bit. He's gone to 5 seconds behind.
Well, Darrell was pointing out to me at break, and Darrell, I think this is what you said, and I agree. With that problem they had on pit road, it's almost like he can't catch Kenseth. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is not going to catch him unless they have a caution. Let me just take as the points leader what this race will give me, another top 5.
I think that's smart racing on their part. They had a problem there and they can't do anything about it. Get out of here clean.
Dale Jr. 9.8 seconds off the lead. He's got a 3-second cushion on Ryan Newman in the 6th place car who started on the front row.
Junior did a nice job tonight, guys, for gutting it out, grunting it out, not feeling good, and coming home here in 5th place.
Now Newman's got work to do to keep Kyle Busch behind him at 6th place.
Yeah, Kyle's a lot like his teammate Jeff Ford. His car seems to really get stronger later on in a run.
Kyle's just been in a good, clean, smart race all night long in the 5 car.
Oh, by the way, the guy in the 6 car, Mark Martin, he's back there in 8th place. And we haven't talked much about him all night long.
Just a second. Just about a second behind Kyle Busch. And then Jeff Burton. Burton is 17 seconds off the lead, running by himself in 9th place.
Good thing about if he can finish here in the top 10 with the problems that Casey Mears, Dale Jarrett has had tonight, it would put him up in the top 10 in points.
Listen to that, working that throttle.
And here's 10th place and the highest rookie in the race, Denny Hamlin, who's capping off a really fine 2 weeks.
Oh, he is. And of course, with that hand, you know, the injury to his hand, I think he's just done a yeoman's job of staying on the wheel.
Reed Sorensen, 11th. Another good rookie run. Tony Stewart has to be disappointed, running in 12th, and he is about 4.5 seconds from going a lap down once again. He's been on the lead lap all night.
Yeah. But about a lot like Jimmy Johnson last week, Mike. I mean, he was in trouble there for a little while, and to recover here and to be running in 12th place, that's a pretty nice recovery for that team.
He just drove by Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car, so that would right now be 3 rookies in the top 15. And we've been talking about Ken Schrader earlier tonight. Another good top 15 run for him, sitting in the 14th position in the 21.
And then the last car on the lead lap is Robbie Gordon. Gordon would be in the top dozen, but I feel like they waited too long to make that final pit stop under green. Greg Biffle had brand new tires and was 3 seconds a lap faster than Gordon as he waited out the end of the cycle to make his stop.
But Mike, like you and I were talking, I think they feel like they're darned if they do and darned if they don't. 3 times I think this year we've seen him come to pit road early and get bitten by a caution flag. Tonight he wanted to stay out there and not be the first one on pit road.
I'll tell you what though, guys, this lead is shrinking as we've got 11 laps to go. Only a second back to Jeff Gordon in the 24 car.
I find it interesting that all of a sudden Terry Labonte is hanging right on the back bumper of Greg Biffle.
Labonte in the 44, the Kellogg's car, with 22 Cup wins, making his 54th Darlington start. He's been racing here since 1978 when he came in here and finished 4th in his first start.
And you know both of those guys up there running 1-2, they've not been to victory lane this year. They certainly want to get there. Greg Biffle and Jeff Gordon.
Well, I think Greg Biffle, after finishing 4th last week, Larry, feels like he got the monkey off his back. If he can pull this off tonight, it'll be a big one.
You're doing great.
10 to go.
Let's do what we hope is the final update on the Darlington stripe count tonight.
Biffle's getting ready to come into some heavy traffic.
Hey, 25, boys. And we're not done yet. We still got about 9.5 laps to go.
Got plenty of time to add a couple.
Yeah, that's way short of all the way around.
But slow traffic here, man, I tell you, it's hard to get through it without any problems. Jeff Gordon's closing, and we got traffic ahead.
You know, it took Gordon a while to figure out this place. He has only one top 20 finish in his first 5 Darlington starts, but then 8 straight top 3s, including 5 wins. 2nd here last May, 3rd the year before. Let's see, 3-2. That leaves 1.
It's just one of those racetracks when you go there, a lot like Daytona, Talladega road course, you know Jeff Gordon is going to be one of the cars you're going to have to beat.
Well, I know y'all have heard me say it before, but Rick Hendrick called me at the end of the 92 season and said, "What you think about my rookie, DW?" I said, Rick, he'll never make it.
Well, he torn 10 clips off Bill Davis's car in the Busch Series the year before.
Every race.
And $76 million later.
I talked to Rick
today. He did a pretty good job.
Yeah, Rick said, yeah, DW, how's my rookie doing?
Now Biffle is starting to pull away just a little bit.
Yeah, Gordon's only gaining a 10th a lap, and there's only 7 laps to go, and he's got to gain 11 tenths.
Well, as long as he doesn't get up here and get hung up behind the 22 or some of these lap cars that he's coming up on, he'll be just fine. But, buddy, let me tell you, one lap car can slow you down, and that guy behind you can close up in a hurry.
And now there are no cars between Biffle and Gordon as when they come around this time, 6 to go.
Oh, Tony Stewart had it all hung out.
Oh, man.
Now, this is a battle for 12th right now. 2 cars hanging on the lead lap, Tony Stewart and Martin Truex Jr.
Yeah, well, the problem is
the leaders are coming.
The leaders are coming, and that probably, I mean, with only a few laps to go, and I'm sure Tony is probably not worried about that. He's fighting for that position. But Biffle's going to catch up to the back of all these not slow cars, but the lap cars here he's coming up on behind.
First Blaney, then Schrader, then Wimmer. Biffle is a racing machine. How fast will it go? That's how fast I want to run it.
This is his kind of racetrack.
Yeah.
You know, just hang it out.
Greg Biffle is today's Buddy Baker. I got my foot on the floor. How long can I hold it there? How fast will it go?
He doesn't have a lot of strategy.
Right.
It's just wide open.
Exactly.
Y'all fix me a better car if it breaks.
He's just about to catch Dave Blaney in that 22
I'm
car.
telling you,
Jeff Gordon
these
has
slow cars
than he has the last 2 laps.
Believe what I'm trying to tell you, buddy. These slow cars are going to mix it up.
Jeff Gordon is within 1 second of Greg Biffle.
You watch down here when they go in this corner now. Biffle's going to be hung up behind the 22 car.
And his lead is cut to 6 tenths.
Turn 2, he can't get back in the throttle because the 22's up there. Here comes Gordon, nibbling away.
Guarantee you, Greg Biffle's spotter is a very busy man on top of this roof right now.
Yeah, he's making deals with those lap cars, not telling him about Jeff Gordon.
And now the traffic is stacking up together. That could be tough.
It's going to be tough, trust me. He's going to have to deal with Jeff Gordon one way or another.
He's chopped a half a second the last 2 laps.
And you don't just drive by these guys. These guys are all at the tail end of the lead lap, and they're not going to just get out of your way.
And he cannot get by Dave Blaney in the 22 car. Jeff Gordon 3 car lengths back. Now he'll go by him.
And look how he held up Biffle, but Blaney moves out of the way for Biffle, and here comes Jeff.
And Kenny Schrader in the 21, he's trying to stay on the lead lap. 2 to go this time.
Gordon drops to the bottom in 4 to take a shorter line, and he's just 2 car lengths away.
He's coming. He's a-coming.
Both these drivers need a win to get their season rebounded. Gordon 6th in points. Biffle way down.
Run off turn 2 down the backstretch. Schrader's going to yield to our leader, Greg Biffle. They'll be coming to the white flag this time.
And Gordon is there. 1 car length separate them with 1 lap to go.
They're sliding around, got a clean racetrack in front of them now. Biffle got a good run off for that time.
Yeah, he did.
Biffle stepped it way out that time.
Schrader tried to get out of the way, but it hurt Jeff the most. I think he's going to be all right this time. He's got a good run off at 2.
Gordon gets off 2 a little better, but Biffle gets off 4.
If Michael doesn't hold him up, it's Biffle to the finish line. And Waltrip drops way low on the racetrack. They're 2x2 double wide up front.
It's a good thing that this is the last lap. That's all I can say.
Boy, Jeff Gordon drove it into turn 3 and 4 that time.
Here it comes. Good job, Biffle.
Biffle wins the Dodge Charger 500 by 2 car lengths over Jeff Gordon.
Celebrate, boys, celebrate. I like a good close race on the Saturday night.
And that's going to catapult him approximately 6 positions in the points.
This will bring Biffle to within 500 points of the lead and up to 14.
I tell you what, I don't think Jeff Gordon, Schrader didn't do anything wrong, but Jeff couldn't get by Schrader on that last lap, and I don't think he was real happy with Schrader.
Unofficially, Kinsa 3rd, Johnson 4th, Earnhardt Jr. 5th, Newman 6th, Kyle Busch 7th, Martin 8th, Jeff Burton 9th, rookie Denny Hamlin 10th.
Look at the sidewalls on the tires, Larry. No lettering on them whatsoever. He's had that thing, he's been rubbing on everything out there.
The Biffle knows how to do a burnout.
Matter of fact, didn't he back it up in the fence down in Dover?
Greg Biffle gets the win. He'll make the run around to victory lane, and so will we.
And we welcome you to the Sprint post-race show, NASCAR on Fox from Darlington, South Carolina, under the lights where Greg Biffle, 36-year-old from Vancouver, Washington, finally into victory lane this year. After a lot of heartbreak, a repeat winner in this spring race here in Darlington. Let's head down to victory lane and Matt Yoakum.
After 5 finishes of 30th or worse this year, he picked up a lot of momentum at Richmond. It scores his first win of 2006 and did it in dramatic fashion. First off, what does this mean to you and this team to finally break through like this?
It feels really good. I'll tell you what, you know, wish my mom could be here this weekend, and I know a lot of mothers were here, and some stuff's going on, so she wouldn't be able to be here this weekend, but this wins for her, and this team, we never give up. You know, we won the pole last week and finished 4th, and just everybody stood behind us 100%, National Guard and everybody, and I'll say hi to my dad. I know he's not feeling well, and just excited to be back in victory lane.
The closing laps, you've got really what many consider the Darlington Master with Jeff Gordon, 6 wins here, chasing you down, and then you hit all that traffic. What were you thinking then?
I was praying for help. I was begging, Joel, please. Let him give me a lane, you know, give me the top, give me the bottom or something. And you know what, Kurt Busch could have raced the heck out of me, and he let me go on the top. He was the last car in the lead lap, and I really appreciate it. And a lot of guys just showed respect out there tonight. And, you know, a few more laps, Gordon would have got there, but 2 in a row. I'm pretty excited.
Back-to-back wins here at Darlington for Greg Biffle, his first, though, of 2006, and the guy who was chasing him down is standing by with Dick Berger.
And that would be Jeff Gordon, who absolutely drove his heart out for those last few laps. Was the car cooperating?
Well, we started off a little bit too loose on that last run, and I thought we were in big trouble, but let those guys go and get out there and hope that we catch them like we had in the other long runs. And we started catching them, and I made a little bit of a mistake. I got by Kenseth, and I got in the wall a little bit, down 3 and 4, and I don't know if it knocked the toe out or what, but I picked up a big push, and I was shocked that I even caught the 16. We came up on some lap traffic, and we had to run on. I had one good opportunity and a little bit more room from a lap car, and I might have been able to get it turned underneath them, but still a great race. fantastic job for the DuPont Chevrolet guys, Pepsi, GMAC, Chevrolet, everybody that makes it happen for us. This is a big moment for us. We needed a run like this, and couldn't happen in a better place than here at Darlington. Old school, man.
Congratulations, terrific job. Let's go to Steve.
Thank you, Dick. With points leader Jimmy Johnson, who finished 4th. Now, Jimmy, I heard you late in the race talk about needing more forward bite, but I have to ask, you got blocked trying to exit pit road on lap 316. Was that a difference in the outcome for you?
I think it affected us from finishing 3rd or 2nd, somewhere in there, but just kind of a racing incident on pit road. I was trying to get out, the 20 was trying to get in, and I got held up a little bit, but a great performance for us. Qualifying didn't go like we wanted. We worked very hard trying to get this race car situated in the last practice. Had a good car, came from 25th to the front. A little too loose all night long, but very happy with our performance. I want to wish my mother and grandmother and mother-in-law happy Mother's Day, and also say hello to my wife.
It's a smart racer. Congratulations on the top 5.
Points racing everywhere.
There you go. That's a good point. No pun intended, Mike Joy.
No, and a good night for Johnson. Let's have a look at the standings, which he leads the Nextel Cup. Tony Stewart by 1 point hung on to 2nd over Matt Kenseth. New face in 10th place, Jeff Burton. In 3 of the last 4 races, he's finished top 10, so he climbs. Kevin Harvick, down elevator, drops 4 spots. As we look at the second 10, that 400-point gap is right now at 10th place. Casey Mears, Dale Jarrett falling back just a bit there. And Biffle, he's gained 126 points on 10th place in just 2 races. He's coming.
And I know we're not quite halfway through this 26-race schedule looking to Richmond, but the big question over the offseason, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., could they make the chase? Top 5 finishes for both of them pretty solidly in the top 10 in points right now.
It done my heart pretty good to hear Jeff Gordon say this is old school racing, because I like old school racing, and we saw a lot of it tonight.
This is a fun place to race. They've done a lot of improvements here, and I think and hope we're going to be here for a long time.
Just keep shining on
Speaking of old school racing, next Saturday night under the lights, a little all-star racing.
Old school, new pavement at Charlotte.
Oh,
Chris.
yeah.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of problems when we go. No, I don't know what problems. Hey, we got issues when we get to Charlotte.
All right, thanks, guys. Sometimes a guy has to turn his season around in a moment, on a play at a particular track, and a move. And for Greg Biffle, he said he thought he felt he won last weekend in Richmond when he came in 4th. He did win today. In your opinion, has he turned things around?
I think definitely so, Chris. I think that's what you've got to do. If you want to be a championship chase contender, you've got to never give up. And I think it's what this entire number 16 crew did tonight. They kept beating and banging, working on our race car. Doug Richard did a great job as far as calling the race, but in the end, Greg Biffle got up on that wheel when he knew Jeff Gordon was coming, and he made the difference.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. a little under the weather, as he told us, hung in there to finish 5th. Of course, good runs from Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon as well to finish in the top 5. Next weekend from Charlotte, Lowe's Motor Speedway. Begin the weekend Friday on speed, and of course Saturday night under the lights. Mark Martin won the All-Star Challenge last year. See how he handles this year's race. Coming up, Matt TV for many, or your late local news. Promotional consideration provided by these fine people. You know, early in the day we talked about points leader Jimmy Johnson extending his points lead to the largest it's been this season. Also, DW nicknamed Dale Jarrett's car a Ford Furious. He'll be going to Toyota next year. For Darrell, Arian, Mike, Steve, Matt, and Dick, and Jeff Hamlin and his asphalt that he's carrying around from the track here in Darlington. And for our entire production crew, I'm Chris Myers. Thanks for watching NASCAR on Fox. To all you moms, happy Mother's Day.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.